Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Education study session for April 21st, 2020. We're certainly right in the middle of our coronavirus quarantine. And so the board will be respecting orders from the Governor of California, the Health Officer of the County of Riverside, and guidelines of the Centers of Disease Control related to maintaining public health and safety at this time. Consistent with all these orders and guidelines, this meeting will be held online only as follows. Today for open session, if you would like to make public comment, or if you want to make public comment on closed session items, you need to go on to riversideunified.org, very easy to do, and go to the board tab and put any comments you want under board comments, and we will be able to read those at the appropriate time. At this time, I'm going to do a roll call and see who is with us, which of the board members are with us. Mr. Hunt.
Yes, here, ma'am.
Okay. Mrs. Lock-Dawson.
Here.
Mr. Brent Lee.
I'm here.
Dr. Farouk.
Here.
And I am here, so we do have everyone and it's a quorum. And now I'm going to be asking if there's any public comments on closed session items. Have there been any submitted?
Good evening, Board President Alavi. There are no public comments for closed session items.
Thank you very much. Okay, right now we're going to be adjourning to closed session and we will be back at 5:30. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelly.
I see Tom is on there.
How are you, Mrs. Lock-Dawson?
Do we all need to log out of the Zoom meeting and join something else? Is that what it is? I saw it. Does everybody see the chat from Steve? Every time I unmute, somebody mutes me for some reason. But do you see the chat from
Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about my journey into science. Imagine a scientist. What does a scientist look like to you? A lab coat, yes. Glassware, mixing chemicals in a lab, yes. And the big glasses, sometimes sort of falling or taped. But how many of you guys maybe thought of something different? Like a field biologist like Jane Goodall, or the two astronauts who just did the first ever female spacewalk, Christina Cook and Jessica Meir. But how many of you guys actually pictured yourselves? Not everyone usually does, and this is something that educators often are trying to sort out, is why don't we picture ourselves in this role? Why don't we ever see ourselves as a scientist? When you ask a male or a female your interest in STEM after graduation, half of the guys are gonna say, yeah, STEM is something I'm really interested in, but a fraction of women are actually joining in that same interest. And this sort of then trickles down into the actual workforce. When I actually graduated high school, I was one of those statistics. I did not identify as a scientist. I had no interest in science. I just didn't know what to do with a science degree.
Inspire Her Mind is a conference that gets girls thinking about actually careers in science. They get to see some of the cool applications of science. They get to see women working in these areas.
We know there's not as many women in the STEM workforce as there are men, so we're really trying to be proactive and be able to get girls involved and really show them that this is an opportunity for them.
I did not expect this. I'm gonna be honest, I first came here because I wanted to get extra credit, and then it turned out to be more than that.
I wasn't really expecting all of these different interactive activities that we got to do.
The one where you have to inspect the cells of the plants and everything.
We saw stomata and how it's on the back of the leaf, and we just learned more of what we're learning in biology, so it's cool to see it just not in the classroom.
We learned from people who were specialized in their field, so they were really passionate about it, and then so we got to learn just straight from them, and it was really fun.
I don't really like science that much, but my friend convinced me, and it's nothing like what I expected. It's way funner. It's a broad spectrum of different things that you can do. In one of the activities, we kind of learned about how different types of lines can make dresses appear differently. We had to draw lines on the dresses to make appearances either look longer or shorter or thinner or thicker.
When I went to college, you have to take classes that are beyond your major, right? And so I took one that was global environmental problems. And in that class, I was just blown away, and I realized this is where I want to make a difference. I now have a lab that gets to look at these environmental issues, and I absolutely love my job. It took a long time to figure out that this is what I wanted, but I am so happy where I'm at.
I really liked it because it was more focused on us, because we were able to individually analyze what we wanted, not what anybody else wanted us to learn.
We took a personality quiz, and that quiz was honestly my favorite part.
We were able to find out the specific topics that we were interested in.
Mine was advisor because I want to be in the medical field. I want to be an RN.
I got a maker, and I thought that was really cool because ever since I was little, I would always love working with my hands, and I still do.
This is a really great opportunity for girls to get that hands-on experience and to open their eyes.
I decided to come on a whim.
I thought we were just going to get hour-long lectures and everything, but instead we got to have these fun experiences.
I expected to see men in lab coats.
I also expected people to just tell about their jobs and then how we could help our city, but instead I learned about how those small careers add up to help the whole world.
We're really focusing on getting girls excited and engaged in STEM fields and potential STEM careers.
My expectations when we came here was that we would go into a lecture hall, they would lecture us, and then we would leave. I didn't expect it to be as hands-on and as innovative and interactive as it was, and I think that that's the reason why I enjoyed it as much as I did.
It's part of their everyday lives, and helping them understand that and appreciate that is also part of this endeavor.
My favorite thing was seeing the batteries and the wire thing move around.
Oh, I saw that amazing little robot. Did you guys?
Yeah.
The way they were coded had them follow a pathway, and in that pathway were certain color codes, and those color codes would dictate what the robot did.
It was so little and it was so cute, and the fact that I could literally just drop a bunch of colors and it would make the robot do different things, it was really, really impressive, and I really like that.
I'm a wildlife biologist by training. I get to work with animals, habitats, and the environment.
We learned about the California condor.
And we found causes of death among condors and why they almost went extinct.
And how due to conservation by people that are in the STEM field, they were able to multiply and now they're growing species again.
The program provides an opportunity for our students, young ladies, to look into STEM as a possibility and also leadership. There is definitely a gap out in the workforce. So what are we doing? We're bringing our girls in and we're helping build the confidence around those two specific areas.
I'm actually really looking forward to coming back and seeing what other activities that they have for us.
I heard them say that leadership was going to be the focus of the second conference. I'm definitely really interested in that, and I think it's really important for women to realize that leadership is an important skill to have, and it's definitely something that's really related to STEM because STEM is leading the field in so many industries nowadays.
I'm also looking forward to coming back and learning more about the small careers that I can build up to help everybody around.
I think it's really important to expose them to the vast array of careers and how a scientific background can help you succeed at anything you choose to do.
My mission for our students is to provide them with a nutritious meal, authentic foods that they will enjoy all year long.
I'm hoping all the effort that we put into our meals are enjoyed by the students.
Can I get the orange chicken?
Chicken sandwich.
Teriyaki rice.
Chicken chow mein.
Can I get some nachos? Nachos. I'm gonna get everything on them.
Cheeseburger, chicken sandwich, spicy chicken sandwich, pizza.
Bean and cheese burrito. I had tacos today with beef.
We get fresh produce delivered twice a week that we use on our salads and our tacos. We have a vegetarian wrap with no meat.
We serve tortas and burritos, chicken chili verde. We have our barbecue served every day with hamburgers, hot dogs, and crispy chicken sandwiches. You can apply for the meal program online by visiting riversideunified.org. The 30-day grace period ends September 23rd, 2019, so apply as soon as possible.
Welcome to University Heights Middle School. I'm Katie Grimbaugh, I'm the principal here at Uni. Today I'm going to share 5 things I love about our school. First is the variety of clubs and activities that we have. While we have traditional sports like soccer, volleyball, basketball, we also have a variety of things that are unique to us. Things like Sisters STEM Interest Program, Club 3.0, Girl Talk, Mariachi, Ballet Folklorico, Robotics, Makerspace, 3D printing, woodshop, and coding as well. The next thing I love about our school is that we're a personalized learning school. What that means is that each student has a learner profile where they identify their strengths and the ways that they learn best as a student. The teachers then use this to help them develop personalized learning plans, which are used to tailor instruction and activities to the needs of each student as an individual. Next step is our family resource room. We have a dedicated space for parent trainings, activities, to come in and utilize computers, printers, or just assistance for parents needing to apply for programs or access community resources. One of the things unique to our family resource room is that we have a food pantry and community closet available for families in need as well. Another thing I love about Uni is our Avid School-Wide program. We have a school-wide focus on college and career readiness, including high academic expectations in all core classes. Students are reading and writing no matter the subject area. And finally, we have a comprehensive social emotional learning program, including restorative practices along with social skills instruction in all classes to make sure that our students are successful not only academically, but also socially. School culture is really important to me. So if the teachers are happy, the students are happy. If the students are happy, they have positive relationships with people on campus, then they're more likely to learn and put forth the effort that we need for them to be successful academically. At University Heights, we believe that all decisions should put students first. We prioritize culture and community in all of our decision making. What that means to us is that anytime we are making decisions, deciding between 2 options, prioritizing programs, spending money, those are the things that we use to decide what we're going to do. So as a staff, we come together and say which one of these furthers our core values, and that's how we decide what we're going to do next. The goal of our school is to provide each student with challenging and rigorous curriculum appropriate to their academic level. We believe every child can achieve academic success. With parents and teachers working together toward the same goal, every child will succeed. Through teamwork, open communication, and a dedication to continuous improvement, we can make this school a place where students delight and enjoy learning.
As we enter into the first few weeks of school, we are encouraging all households to apply and reapply for the meal program.
I think the food here is an upgrade.
Teriyaki chicken, chow mein, rice. It's always good food.
It's good. It's actually real food. They cook it fresh.
We come in every morning and we bake our cookies fresh.
It's always really good.
Food here is a huge step up.
I think it's good.
It's pretty good.
My favorite thing to eat is a cheeseburger. Cheeseburger.
I had a burger. It was really good.
I got pizza.
Our pizzas are baked in the oven. We have pepperoni and cheese. We get fresh produce delivered twice a week. Strawberries, peaches, apples, oranges, plums, pears.
My favorite lunch is the daily specials where they have the chicken tenders.
I like the lasagna.
You just got a lot of things here.
You can apply for the meal program online by visiting riversideunified.org. Remember, the 30-day grace period ends September 23rd, 2019, so apply as soon as possible.
We have very special things to be distributed to all of our students today. In your sixth period, we will be distributing LA Clippers backpacks, courtesy of Kawhi Leonard and the LA Clippers. There are backpacks for every student. Happy holidays from the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard.
Martin Luther King High School is very, very appreciative of the Clippers organization and for Kawhi Leonard himself for providing the backpacks for all of our students, not only here at campus, but also throughout the district, considering the fact that he did play for us for a couple of years. And it's a great gesture and it very much shows his quality of character and commitment to our area.
Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers have donated and given us a backpack for every single student in the whole district. 41,000. I'm going to give you a backpack right now.
We would really like to thank Mr. Leonard. He's done an incredibly generous thing and helped the holidays of all of our RUSD students by giving them backpacks. It's an incredibly kind and thoughtful gesture on his part, and we are so grateful.
Thank you for just, bringing up your community that you grew up in, handing everybody out the backpack, because, some people really can't afford to get backpacks and such. I know that from experience, and having a free backpack definitely means a lot. Thank you.
We just wanted to say thank you so much to Kawhi. These backpacks are awesome. We love them.
Hey man, thanks for the free backpacks.
Thank you, Kawhi.
Thank you, Kawhi.
I'm glad you went to our school. It makes me really happy to know you walk the same hallways.
Thank you, Kawhi. Bro, got the new heat, bro.
We love you, Kawhi.
I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the Los Angeles Clippers Foundation and two-time NBA World Champion Kawhi Leonard. We are especially proud of Mr. Kawhi Leonard for being a graduate of King High School at Riverside Unified School District. He is an inspiration to students throughout the world, and we know that his contributions and his character of what he does to help communities off the court is what makes him truly an inspiration for all of us. So thank you again, Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers Foundation.
approach the cutoff for the 30-day grace period, we are encouraging all households to apply and reapply for the meal program. Riverside Unified partners with over 20 local farmers. They deliver fresh produce to our central kitchen.
Here at the Central Kitchen, we get a nice variety of produce that we get in. We have multiple farmers that we use within Riverside. We use not just oranges, but whatever fruits or produce that is available during season. So we also get lettuce, grapes, fresh strawberries from farmers that are local, melons, peaches, nectarines.
I work for RUSD as the Food Hub Coordinator. I work with local farmers and helping them decide what to grow for the district and what varieties of produce and when we need it.
We introduced the Farm to School program in 2005 to try to teach our students lifelong healthy eating habits.
It is easy and quick to apply online by visiting riversideunified.org and apply online through the meal program application.
My name is Matt Cash, and I have the privilege of serving our community as the principal at Fremont Elementary School. Here are 5 things that I absolutely love about Fremont. The first thing I love is our dual language immersion program, or DLI for short. All of Fremont's DLI teachers have a bilingual credential. In our DLI classrooms, students are taught in both English and in Spanish. And by the end of their 6th grade year, our students have the opportunity to grow into students that are biliterate, bilingual, and bicultural. Next, Fremont is a no excuses university school, or NEU for short. That means that we adhere to the belief that every single child deserves the opportunity to be educated in a way that prepares them for college and career. Fremont is also an avid elementary school. That means that our teachers and staff are trained in the most up-to-date techniques to keep our students engaged in content and in the classroom. NEU and AVID go hand in hand. NEU provides us the systems we need to prepare our kids for college and career, and AVID provides us the strategies, real-time, on the ground, that we use inside the classroom to accomplish that. If you ever have the opportunity to walk around Fremont Elementary School, you will see a college presence here on campus. We have banners, pennants, and flags from a variety of colleges around the country hanging in our hallways and in our library. That means that from day one of a student attending our school, we instill the belief that if they want to, they can go to college and pursue the career that they were made for. Fremont Elementary has an amazing show choir. Our show choir is so dynamic that they've been invited to perform at places like the Festival of Lights, at City Hall for the mayor and city council, and even here in our community for local holiday shows. If you ever have a chance to catch one of their shows, you should. Here at Fremont, we are all about partnerships. That includes partnerships with local universities like UCR, the University of California, Riverside. They have a program for volunteers called AmeriCorps, where they come onto campus and college students tutor our elementary students in math, language arts, and other subject areas. Each of these college students work with individuals each day to ensure that our students not only know that they can do their best, but they're also given a mentor that they can aspire to be. Lastly, we pride ourselves on meaningful interventions. That means that data management is a high priority. We know who our kids are, we know their strengths and their challenges, and we design instruction that meets those needs and takes them from where they are to where they need to be in order to be successful. One of our core values is student engagement. We create opportunities for our students to meet their current needs and challenge them to become their best. Fremont Elementary School is unique. Opened in 1917, Fremont is one of the most storied elementary schools here in our city. Our school has been in the La Placida community for more than 100 years. That means we serve generation after generation of learners who have come through our doors. Fremont provides art classes, community service projects, band, show choir, social and emotional services, parent training, community activities, after-school enrichment, and so much more. We're excited for the programs we bring to the La Placida community, and we're happy to serve our families. So with that, we say, welcome to Fremont.
quieres hacer cuando estés grande? I want to be a veterinarian when I grow up.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Yo quiero ser un científico. When I grow up, I want to be a teacher.
If you're interested in your child being bilingual, the Dual Language Immersion Program gives the students the opportunity to learn in 2 languages. El programa de inmersión del lenguaje dual le da a los estudiantes la gran oportunidad de aprender 2 idiomas, en español y en inglés, para que puedan ser bilingües y puedan terminar ser estudiantes que puedan leer y escribir en los 2 idiomas también.
My children's first language is English. They actually learned Spanish in the DLI program, and then I just supported everything at home once they were involved in the program.
And Mommy was in Spanish class. Did you help Mommy?
Sí, pues mi mamá preguntó que ellos están en español clase y ella necesita ayudar con un examen. Y os ayudó y ella sacó 100%.
They have the same curriculum as the other students do. In the primary grades, it's heavy in the Spanish, and they get English language development in English. In the upper grades, they have a 50-50 model, half of the day in Spanish and the other half in English.
What do you like to learn in school?
Me gusta aprender matemáticas. ¿Qué te gusta aprender en la escuela? My favorite subject of school is writing because I can learn things that are bilingual.
Los padres pueden solicitar una aplicación para el programa de inmersión del lenguaje dual tan pronto como en jardín de niños o hasta primer grado.
At Fremont Elementary School, our DLI program is expanding. It's currently in kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd grade, and next year it will move on to 3rd.
Longfellow is proud to offer dual language immersion. We're also a STEM school. We emphasize hands-on STEM activities for a portion of the day. We begin in kindergarten, which means that our students can apply the year before, which would be a preschool or transitional kindergarten age, to enter our school to begin in kindergarten.
Jefferson Elementary School offers a dual language immersion program, kindergarten through 5th grade, and next year we will add 6th grade. They participate in all regular school activities, field trips, special events, assemblies, just like everyone else.
Spanish is interwoven into everything that we do here at Mountain View. Our assemblies are in both languages. Our morning announcements are in both languages. Our students are speaking in both languages.
¿Cuántos años tienen? I am 7 years old. ¿Cuántos años tienes? Yo tengo 7 años. How old are you? I'm 7 years old.
And where do you use what you've learned?
Mi mamá preguntó dónde ellos están hablando español. Están ayudando a mi abuela y mi abuelo se habló en español.
¿Qué te gusta aprender en la escuela?
I like learn English because I like science.
Solicite la aplicación en riversideunified.org.
¿Usted le quiere decir algo a sus maestros? I would like to say that thanks for teaching me how to be bilingual.
Would you like to thank your teacher?
Sí. Gracias por enseñarme. Gracias por enseñarme español.
¿Qué quieres decir a tu maestra?
I want to say, Mr. Ana, Miss Sierra, thank you to teaching me in English and Spanish.
Is there anyone you'd like to thank?
La pregunta era si hay alguien que quiere decir gracias. Yo quiero decir gracias a todas mis maestras de DLI. Yo quiero decir gracias a mis papás por ponerme en el programa de DLI.
Is there anything you want to tell your teacher?
Gracias por enseñarme. Gracias por enseñarme español.
¿Qué quieres decirle a tu maestra?
I would like to say to my teacher that thank you for teaching me in 3rd grade. Yo quiero decir a mi maestra, gracias por haciendo español yo. And I want to say thank you to my mom for taking me to a Spanish class, like learn more Spanish. Yo quiero decir gracias a mi mamá porque traje a ellas español clase y ayudar que yo se pueda ayudar a ella. Yay!
Good job, baby girl.
Now take me to the class.
at the central kitchen. We get a nice variety of produce that we get in from like fruits and vegetables. We have some oranges behind us that we are wedging. We use not just oranges, but whatever fruits or produce that is available during season. Some people ask when we package the food. So our fresh fruits and vegetables are packaged on the same day, every day. They're never done multiple days in the past, but they're done the day of. Our sandwiches are also done on the same day as well. So when we are doing the sandwiches on the after school program, we make those sandwiches fresh day of.
I'm at one of our local farms. We purchase citrus, lettuce, tomatoes, pepper, avocado, pears, apples, cucumbers, and many, many more. In addition to purchasing from our farmers, we brought some activities for the kids to connect the cafeteria with our farms. We have gardening activities, classes in planting to encourage our students to eat nutritious meals.
Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about my journey into science. Imagine a scientist. What does a scientist look like to you? A lab coat, yes. Glassware, mixing chemicals in a lab, yes. And the big glasses, sometimes sort of falling or taped. But how many of you guys maybe thought of something different? Like a field biologist like Jane Goodall, or the 2 astronauts who just did the first ever female spacewalk, Christina Cook and Jessica Meir. But how many of you guys actually pictured yourselves? Not everyone usually does, and this is something that educators often are trying to sort out, is why don't we picture ourselves in this role? Why don't we ever see ourselves as a scientist? When you ask a male or a female your interest in STEM after graduation, half of the guys are gonna say, yeah, STEM is something I'm really interested in, but a fraction of women are actually joining in that same interest. And this sort of then trickles down into the actual workforce. When I actually graduated high school, I was one of those statistics. I did not identify as a scientist. I had no interest in science. I just didn't know what to do with a science degree.
Inspire Her Mind is a conference that gets girls thinking about actually careers in science. They get to see some of the cool applications of science. They get to see women working in these areas.
We know there's not as many women in the STEM workforce as there are men, so we're really trying to be proactive and be able to get girls involved and really show them that this is an opportunity for them.
I did not expect this. I'm gonna be honest, I first came here because I wanted to get extra credit, and then it turned out to be more than that. I wasn't really expecting all of these different interactive activities that we got to do.
The one where you have to inspect the cells of the plants and everything.
We saw stomata and how it's on the back of the leaf, and we just learned more of what we're learning in biology, so it's cool to see it just not in the classroom.
We learned from people who were specialized in their field, so they were really passionate about it, and then so we got to learn just straight from them, and it was really fun.
I don't really like science that much, but my friend convinced me, and it's nothing like what I expected. It's way funner. It's a broad spectrum of different things that you can do. In one of the activities, we kind of learned about how different types of lines can make dresses appear differently. We had to draw lines on the dresses to make appearances either look longer or shorter or thinner or thicker.
When I went to college, you have to take classes that are beyond your major, right? And so I took one that was global environmental problems. And in that class, I was just blown away, and I realized this is where I want to make a difference. I now have a lab that gets to look at these environmental issues, and I absolutely love my job. It took a long time to figure out that this is what I wanted, but I am so happy where I'm at.
I really liked it because it was more focused on us, because we were able to individually analyze what we wanted, not what anybody else wanted us to learn.
We took a personality quiz, and that quiz was honestly my favorite part.
We were able to find out the specific topics that we were interested in.
Mine was advisor, because I want to be in the medical field. I want to be an RN. I got a maker, and I thought that was really cool because ever since I was little, I would always love working with my hands, and I still do.
This is a really great opportunity for girls to get that hands-on experience and to open their eyes.
I decided to come on a whim.
I thought we were just gonna get hour-long lectures and everything, but instead we got to have these fun experiences.
I expected to see men in lab coats.
I also expected people to just tell about their jobs and then how we could help our city, but instead I learned about how those small careers add up to help the whole world.
We're really focusing on getting girls excited and engaged in STEM fields and potential STEM careers.
My expectations when we came here was that we would go into a lecture hall, they would lecture us, and then we would leave. I didn't expect it to be as hands-on and as innovative and interactive as it was, and I think that that's the reason why I enjoyed it as much as I did.
It's part of their everyday lives, and helping them understand that and appreciate that is also part of this endeavor.
My favorite thing was seeing the batteries and the wire thing move around.
Oh, I saw that amazing little robot. Did you guys?
Yeah. The way they were coded had them follow a pathway, and in that pathway were certain color codes, and those color codes would dictate what the robot did. It was so little and it was so cute, and the fact that I could literally just drop a bunch of colors and it would make the robot do different things. It was really impressive, and I really liked that.
I'm a wildlife biologist by training. I get to work with animals, habitats, and the environment.
We
We learned about the California condor, and we found causes of death among condors and why they almost went extinct. And how due to conservation by people that are in the STEM field, they were able to multiply and now they're growing species again.
The program provides an opportunity for our students, young ladies, to look into STEM as a possibility and also leadership. There is definitely a gap out in the workforce. So what are we doing? We're bringing our girls in and we're helping build the confidence around those two specific areas.
I'm actually really looking forward to coming back and seeing what other activities that they have for us.
I heard them say that leadership was going to be the focus of the second conference. I'm definitely really interested in that, and I think it's really important for women to realize that leadership is an important skill to have, and it's definitely something that's really related to STEM because STEM is leading the field in so many industries nowadays.
I'm also looking forward to coming back and learning more about the small careers that can build up to help everybody around.
I think it's really important to expose them to the vast array of careers and how a scientific background can help you succeed at anything you choose to do.
My mission for our students is to provide them with a nutritious meal, authentic foods that they will enjoy all year long.
I'm hoping all the effort that we put into our meals are enjoyed by the students.
Can I get the orange chicken?
Chicken sandwich, teriyaki rice,
chicken chow mein.
Can I get some nachos? Nachos. I'm gonna get everything on them.
cheeseburger, chicken sandwich, spicy chicken sandwich, pizza,
bean and cheese burrito. I had tacos today with beef.
We get fresh produce delivered twice a week that we use on our salads and our tacos. We have a vegetarian wrap with no meat.
We serve tortas and burritos, chicken chili verde. We have our barbecue served every day with hamburgers, hot dogs, and crispy chicken sandwiches. You can apply for the meal program online by visiting riversideunified.org. The 30-day grace period ends September 23rd, 2019, so apply as soon as possible.
Welcome to University Heights Middle School. I'm Katie Grimbaugh, I'm the principal here at Uni. Today I'm going to share 5 things I love about our school. First is the variety of clubs and activities that we have. While we have traditional sports like soccer, volleyball, basketball, we also have a variety of things that are unique to us. Things like Sisters STEM Interest Program, Club 3.0, Girl Talk, Mariachi, Ballet Folklorico, Robotics, Makerspace, 3D printing, woodshop, and coding as well. The next thing I love about our school is that we're a personalized learning school. What that means is that each student has a learner profile where they identify their strengths and the ways that they learn best as a student. The teachers then use this to help them develop personalized learning plans, which are used to tailor instruction and activities to the needs of each student as an individual. Next step is our family resource room. We have a dedicated space for parent trainings, activities, to come in and utilize computers, printers, or just assistance for parents needing to apply for programs or access community resources. One of the things unique to our family resource room is that we have a food pantry and community closet available for families in need as well. Another thing I love about Uni is our Avid School-Wide program. We have a school-wide focus on college and career readiness, including high academic expectations in all core classes. Students are reading and writing no matter the subject area. And finally, we have a comprehensive social emotional learning program, including restorative practices along with social skills instruction in all classes to make sure that our students are successful not only academically, but also socially. School culture is really important to me. So if the teachers are happy, the students are happy. If the students are happy, they have positive relationships with people on campus, then they're more likely to learn and put forth the effort that we need for them to be successful academically. At University Heights, we believe that all decisions should put students first. We prioritize culture and community in all of our decision making. What that means to us is that anytime we are making decisions, deciding between 2 options, prioritizing programs, spending money, those are the things that we use to decide what we're going to do. So as a staff, we come together and say which one of these furthers our core values, and that's how we decide what we're going to do next. The goal of our school is to provide each student with challenging and rigorous curriculum appropriate to their academic level.
We believe every child can achieve academic success. With parents and teachers working together toward the same goal, every child will succeed. Through teamwork, open communication, and a dedication to continuous improvement, we can make this school a place where students delight and enjoy learning.
As we enter into the first few weeks of school, we are encouraging all households to apply and reapply for the meal program.
I think the food here is an upgrade.
Teriyaki chicken, chow mein, rice, and it's always good food.
It's good. It's actually real food. They cook it fresh.
We come in every morning and we bake our cookies fresh.
It's always really good.
Food here is a huge step up.
I think it's good.
It's pretty good.
My favorite thing to eat is a cheeseburger. Cheeseburger.
I had a burger, it was really good.
I got pizza.
Our pizzas are baked in the oven. We have pepperoni and cheese. We get fresh produce delivered twice a week. Strawberries, peaches, apples, oranges, plums, pears.
My favorite lunch is the daily specials where they have the chicken tenders.
I like the lasagna.
You just got a lot of things here.
You can apply for the meal program online by visiting riversideunified.org. Remember, the 30-day grace period ends September 23rd, 2019, so apply as soon as possible.
We have very special things to be distributed to all of our students today. In your 6th period, we will be distributing LA Clippers backpacks, courtesy of Kawhi Leonard and the LA Clippers. There are backpacks for every student. Happy holidays from the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard.
Martin Luther King High School is very, very appreciative of the Clippers organization and for Kawhi Leonard himself for providing the backpacks for all of our students, not only here at campus, but also throughout the district, considering the fact that he did play for us for a couple of years. And it's a great gesture and very much shows his quality of character and commitment to our area.
Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers have donated and given us a backpack for every single student in the whole district. 41,000. I'm going to give you a backpack right
now. We would really like to thank Mr. Leonard. He's done an incredibly generous thing and helped the holidays of all of our RUSD students by giving them backpacks. It's an incredibly kind and thoughtful gesture on his part, and we are so grateful.
Thank you for just, bringing up your community that you grew up in, handing everybody out the backpack, because, some people really can't afford to get backpacks and such. I know that from experience, and having a free backpack definitely means a lot. Thank you.
We just wanted to say thank you so much to Kawhi. These backpacks are awesome. We love them.
Hey man, thanks for the free backpacks.
Thank you, Kawhi.
Thank you, Kawhi.
I'm glad you went to our school. It makes me really happy to know you walk the same hallways.
Thank you, Kawhi. Bro, got the new heat, bro.
We love you, Kawhi.
I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the Los Angeles Clippers Foundation and two-time NBA World Champion Kawhi Leonard. We are especially proud of Mr. Kawhi Leonard for being a graduate of King High School at Riverside Unified School District. He is an inspiration to students throughout the world, and we know that his contributions and his character of what he does to help communities off the court is what makes him truly an inspiration for all of us. So thank you again, Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers Foundation.
approach the cutoff for the 30-day grace period, we are encouraging all households to apply and reapply for the meal program. Riverside Unified partners with over 20 local farmers. They deliver fresh produce to our central kitchen.
Here at the Central Kitchen, we get a nice variety of produce that we get in. We have multiple farmers that we use within Riverside. We use not just oranges, but whatever fruits or produce that is available during season. So we also get lettuce, grapes, fresh strawberries from farmers that are local, melons, peaches, nectarines.
I work for RUSD as the food hub coordinator. I work with local farmers and helping them decide what to grow for the district and what varieties of produce and when we need it.
We introduced the Farm to School program in 2005 to try to teach our students lifelong healthy eating habits.
It is easy and quick to apply online by visiting riversideunified.org and apply online through the meal program application.
My name is Matt Cash, and I have the privilege of serving our community as the principal at Fremont Elementary School. Here are 5 things that I absolutely love about Fremont. The first thing I love is our dual language immersion program, or DLI for short. All of Fremont's DLI teachers have a bilingual credential. In our DLI classrooms, students are taught in both English and in Spanish. And by the end of their 6th grade year, our students have the opportunity to grow into students that are biliterate, bilingual, and bicultural. Next, Fremont is a no excuses university school, or NEU for short. That means that we adhere to the belief that every single child deserves the opportunity to be educated in a way that prepares them for college and career. Fremont is also an avid elementary school. That means that our teachers and staff are trained in the most up-to-date techniques to keep our students engaged in content and in the classroom. NEU and AVID go hand in hand. NEU provides us the systems we need to prepare our kids for college and career, and AVID provides us the strategies, real-time, on the ground, that we use inside the classroom to accomplish that. If you ever have the opportunity to walk around Fremont Elementary School, you will see a college presence here on campus. We have banners, pennants, and flags from a variety of colleges around the country hanging in our hallways and in our library. That means that from day one of a student attending our school, we instill the belief that if they want to, they can go to college and pursue the career that they were made for. Fremont Elementary has an amazing show choir. Our show choir is so dynamic that they've been invited to perform at places like the Festival of Lights, at City Hall for the mayor and city council, and even here in our community for local holiday shows. If you ever have a chance to catch one of their shows, you should. Here at Fremont, we are all about partnerships. That includes partnerships with local universities like UCR, the University of California, Riverside. They have a program for volunteers called AmeriCorps, where they come onto campus and college students tutor our elementary students in math, language arts, and other subject areas. Each of these college students work with individuals each day to ensure that our students not only know that they can do their best, but they're also given a mentor that they can aspire to be. Lastly, we pride ourselves on meaningful interventions. That means that data management is a high priority. We know who our kids are, we know their strengths and their challenges, and we design instruction that meets those needs and takes them from where they are to where they need to be in order to be successful. One of our core values is student engagement. We create opportunities for our students to meet their current needs and challenge them to become their best. Fremont Elementary School is unique. Opened in 1917, Fremont is one of the most storied elementary schools here in our city. Our school has been in the La Placida community for more than 100 years. That means we serve generation after generation of learners who have come through our doors. Fremont provides art classes, community service projects, band, show choir, social and emotional services, parent training, community activities, after-school enrichment, and so much more. We're excited for the programs we bring to the La Placida community, and we're happy to serve our families. So with that, we say, welcome to Fremont.
¿Qué quieres hacer cuando estés grande? I want to be a veterinarian when I grow up.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Yo quiero ser un científico.
What trade?
When I grow up, I want to be a teacher.
If you're interested in your child being bilingual, the Dual Language Immersion Program gives the students the opportunity to learn in 2 languages. El programa de inmersión de lenguaje dual le da a los estudiantes la gran oportunidad de aprender 2 idiomas, en español y en inglés, para que puedan ser bilingües y puedan terminar ser estudiantes que puedan leer y escribir en los 2 idiomas también.
My children's first language is English. They actually learned Spanish in the DLI program, and then I just supported everything at home once they were involved in the program.
And Mommy was in Spanish class. Did you help Mommy?
Sí, pues mi mamá preguntó que ellos están en español clase y ella necesita ayudar con un examen y os ayudó y ella se ganó 100%.
They have the same curriculum as the other students do. In the primary grades, it's heavy in the Spanish, and they get English language development in English. In the upper grades, they have a 50-50 model, half of the day in Spanish and the other half in English.
What do you like to learn in school?
Me gusta aprender matemáticas. ¿Qué te gusta aprender en la escuela? My favorite subject of school is writing because I can learn things that are bilingual.
Los padres pueden solicitar una aplicación para el programa de inmersión de lenguaje dual tan pronto como en jardín de niños o hasta primer grado.
At Fremont Elementary School, our DLI program is expanding. It's currently in kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd grade, and next year it will move on to 3rd.
Longfellow is proud to offer dual language immersion. We're also a STEM school. We emphasize hands-on STEM activities for a portion of the day. We begin in kindergarten, which means that our students can apply the year before, which would be a preschool or transitional kindergarten age, to enter our school to begin in kindergarten.
Jefferson Elementary School offers a dual language immersion program, kindergarten through 5th grade, and next year we will add 6th grade. They participate in all regular school activities, field trips, special events, assemblies, just like everyone else.
Spanish is interwoven into everything that we do here at Mountain View. Our assemblies are in both languages. Our morning announcements are in both languages. Our students are speaking in both languages.
¿Cuántos años tienen? I am 7 years old. ¿Cuántos años tienes? Yo tengo 7 años.
I'm at one of our local farms. We purchase citrus, avocado, pears, apples, cucumbers, and many, many more. In addition to purchasing from our farmers, we brought some activities for the kids to connect the cafeteria with our farms. We have gardening activities, classes in planting to encourage our students to eat nutritious meals.
That's the only goddamn camera I got.
Is everybody back?
I'm back.
Hey.
Oh, I'm here.
Okay. Hi, how are you, Freddie?
I'm doing fine.
Good.
How you doing?
Hi, Freddie.
Hi, Freddie. Hello. I'm doing good. Sorry, I had myself muted.
That's all right.
Steve said that all board members are present.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and get started. I would like to reconvene open session of the school board meeting at 5:30 p.m. Good evening and welcome back to our school board meeting for April 21st. If you would like to follow this meeting in Spanish, there's a link at the bottom of your screen, so please use that. Right now, I'm going to do a roll call to see if all of our board members are here. Mr. Hunt?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Lee?
Here.
Mrs. Lock-Dawson?
Here.
Dr. Farouk?
Here.
Mr. Hudnett?
Here.
Very good. We're all here. I would now like to report on closed session, and we did not take any action during closed session. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, first, before I do that, let me just say that the board will be continuing respecting the orders from the Governor of California, the Health Officer of the County of Riverside, and guidelines for the Center for Disease Control related to maintaining public health and safety at this time. And we're going to continue to have this meeting online to do that. Please feel free to join us by submitting a comment. We're going to be reading the comments later. You can still do that by going onto our webpage, looking riversideunified.org, going onto board meeting and hitting that tab, and there's a little link to submit your comments. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance. And the Pledge of Allegiance will be provided and led by Sahari Daniel with Mr. Hudnett to read a bio to follow. Sahari.
Please stand, put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Por favor, pónganse de pie. Pongan su mano derecha sobre su corazón. Prometo lealtad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa una nación ante Dios indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos.
That was great. Mr. Hudnett, would you please read that bio?
Of course. Sahari Daniel is a positive, kind, and hardworking student. She always has a smile on her face and is also willing to help out anyone around her. Sahari always comes to school with a positive attitude, ready to learn, even when content is challenging. In addition to being a self-starter, she is always eager to assist with school spirit events, as well as participate in extracurricular activities such as App Jam Plus and cheerleading. We know that Sahari will continue to excel in school and accomplish the goals she sets. She is truly an example of what a student of the year would represent. This is why Sahari Daniel is Longfellow Elementary School's Portrait of a Graduate Award of Excellent recipient. Thank you, Sahari Daniel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hodnett. And now we're going to have a group performance by Alden Jones, a band student from John W. North High School.
Hi, I'm Alden Jones. I'm a junior at John W. North High School, and I'm a member of the Wind Symphony under the direction of Mr. Pete Jackson. I am here with my parents, Pamela and Andrew Jones. Mr. Jones is the band director at Emerson, Highgrove, Taft, and Mark Twain Elementary Schools, and Mrs. Jones teaches music at University Heights Middle School. Today I am going to play for you the first movement of Trio No. 1 by James Hook.
Big thank you to the whole Jones family for that. That was a lot of fun. Thank you. And now we're going to have a report from our district superintendent, Dr. David Hanson.
Thank you, Mrs. Alavi, and good evening, trustee members and members of the board and community members that are joining us. That was just absolutely wonderful. Of course, to have Sahari Daniel from Longfellow lead us the pledge, and then Alden Jones, who just was tremendous with his mom and dad, who I've known for years. So thank you very much for being part of our board meeting this evening. For my comments tonight, I just simply want to be rather brief. And of course, we know we're in the middle of the coronavirus and still to stay in place and maintain our space and cover our face, and very grateful for the staff members who are working so hard as essential personnel to help get the meals out there for our kids and to make sure the distance learning is available and provide assistance to our families who are at home. And you're going to hear a report later on this evening, board, about some of the work that we're doing. So I will not necessarily get into that, but rather I'd like to turn the time over to Dr. Ryan Lewis. There's some information I'd like him to share, Assistant Superintendent, regarding Encore and appointing the Oversight Board for Encore. And I'd also like him to share a little bit about the new extension of the timelines, rather, an explanation, because you're going to hear about that as it comes to you in May. So Dr. Lewis, can you share with the board about those two items, please?
Okay, and good evening, Dr. Hanson, President Alavi, and members of the board. So the two items tonight I would like to fill you in on. The first one, we'll start with the board appointments. If you recall, when we brought to you the memo of understanding that we created with Encore, part of that was creating a new board to govern just the Riverside campus. We are continuing that timeline, and I have good news to report. That process, we propose to open that tomorrow. That is an online process where anyone from the community who is interested in being considered by the board can visit our website and go in and log on and complete an application process that talks about their expertise that might be helpful to Encore, or their background, or it may talk about the rationale of why they are interested in serving in that capacity. We will record all that, keep it open until May 1st. May 1st, we will close that window and then report back to the board for an action on May 19th, where you will appoint 3 members to that governing board. So that process is off and running. And if you have anyone interested, please point them to that website where they can fill out that information. The second item I would like to report on also has to do with Encore. And we were contacted, back to the memo of understanding I spoke about, on April 15th. That was an important date where all of the items were due from the Encore revisions, and they were to provide insurance for the new Encore board members as you appoint them at the May meeting. There has been a proposed change in that process. What they asked was a 15-day extension. By April 30th, they are going to resubmit a revision or a restructure of governance with a plan to create a new nonprofit corporation, is what their legal counsel has told us. More information will come back to the board on May 5th at our board meeting once we receive that, assuming in a timely manner. The reason they asked for the extension is, according to the Encore legal counsel, they have had a difficult time securing insurance and securing either an affordable or even a policy for the new governing board, or the other challenge could be now running 2 boards, just the insurance costs. So we did not get much more detail other than we did give them till the end of the month. So when we receive that on April 30th, we'll make sure to forward that to the board for future consideration.
Thank you, Dr. Lewis. And those are the 2 items I wanted the board to hear about related to Encore. And then just for the public, we've shared with you for quite some time that by tonight, we will be able to have plans in place, pretty detailed plans as to how we're going to deal with the end of the year activities, graduations, promotions, ceremonies, things such as that. I also want to remind you that you have a second chance to listen to that this Thursday evening at 6:30 p.m. We'll also do another community update. And I know the team's going to send out phone broadcasts and put things on our webpage and social media. So we want to make sure that everyone's very clear and in the loop as how we're going to handle the end of the year activities. And with that, just reminder board, our next board meeting is going to again be virtual. And that will be scheduled currently for Tuesday, May the 5th. That concludes my report this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Hansen. And now we're going to move to to board members' comments. We'll start with Dr. Farouk.
Thank you, President Alvey. So I just wanted to express my gratitude and appreciation for all the essential workers, all of our staff that have been diligently doing everything regarding distance learning and meals and everything that everyone's been doing, and hope everyone is safe. I also wanted to mention that Trustee Lee and I have been in touch with the IVAR, the Realtors Association locally. They're looking at potentially pulling together some incentives for students to participate in distance learning and other things. So, to be determined in terms of what they're able to cobble together. They have an art project that they want to discuss with Freddie and students to see if they're interested in regarding flags. Again, it's a little vague right now just because they want to first get input from students on that before they see if there's something that the district wants to explore. And then it's based on a TED talk. And then I also just wanted to mention that I'd shared before about a survey that school districts have been doing regarding policies on LGBT, especially because they're very vulnerable and susceptible to bullying and other issues. I was told by Assistant Superintendent Dr. Perez that we're going to be potentially looking at how our district might have been more in alignment with those policies than what initially we had submitted, just based on things that have developed since I think it was like 2 years ago that we did that. So just wanted the board to know that there might be an update on that as well. And then my other comment is regarding graduations, but I think we'll be talking about that later, so I'll just hold off. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Locke Dawson.
Thank you, Mrs. Alvey. I too want to echo Dr. Farouk's congratulations and appreciation for all of our staff. You know, serving over 200,000 meals and distributing, what, 15,000 Chromebooks, and finding quick ways to partner and keep our staff and our students safe and up to date and engaged. I can't thank you all enough, just as a community member and as a parent of a student. So thank you. I did want just two things really quickly. I've been very impressed with, I've been contacted by a number of students who are eager to help and want to do things. And I've already put Dr. Hansen in touch with a student who's pivoting a process she had in place to distribute prom dresses to people, and she can't do that now. So now she wants to help us with some other things. So she had started up a project, a nonprofit for that at King High School. And also I was contacted by the same students I mentioned this last time, of the students from the Inland Congregations United for Change. They come from all different high schools, and they are very concerned about students' mental health, and they are providing some links to some services, but they have a survey that they've designed that they would like the board and Dr. Hansen to have a look at, to see if we could put the survey on our website for students that may be going to seek mental health supports and emotional supports. So I'm going to put her in contact, the woman who's the point person for that. I'm going to put her in contact with Dr. Hansen and Mr. Walker. I think probably they're the two decision makers there, but I also will let the board see about that. It's a very short survey, but it's very meaningful. So anyway, thanks everybody, and please stay safe. And I've just been so impressed with the way everybody's come together during this time. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Lee.
Thank you, President Alvey, and just want to thank everybody for all their efforts over the last month or so. I think despite all the changes that have happened to everyone, regardless of your walk of life, it's nice to see that in our board meetings we have some consistency, and to see somebody like Sahari lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to start the meeting, to have that sense of normalcy is great. And then to see that Jones family lead us in a celebration of the visual arts and the performing arts, to keep some of those things, while everything kind of changes around us, to keep some of those things the same, and showcase the great students in our district, I think is really important. So thank you to those two families for participating. Also, like my colleagues, I want to extend my gratitude to the entire RUSD team. This is week 2 for official virtual learning. I know in the Lee household, it has been quite a learning experience for all parties. So my thoughts and prayers go out to everybody that is learning together. And I'm so thankful that at least we have a virtual textbook that our talented staff has put together for us to try to follow. Obviously, no amount of effort on the part of our families can replace the hard work that our teachers and the support staff that provide that support to our teachers can replace that, but it is better than nothing. So I'm really grateful for those resources to support my kids, and I know families that I've spoken with are also grateful despite the challenges that come along with it. With that, I also want to thank our nutrition services, especially because they're the ones who are braving the interactions with the public and putting potentially themselves at risk and those that they interact with at risk, to make sure that our kids have something to eat on a weekly basis. And I heard last week, I think the county had served roughly 3 million meals, which is pretty amazing. And that RUSD was responsible for 300,000 of those meals. So really big spotlight should be put on our nutrition services staff
and everybody that supports them to make sure that our families have something to eat despite these circumstances. Also, you can see with my limited graphic design abilities, I'm trying to support our seniors because I know they are having all sorts of feelings that they're experiencing. So please know that we're with you. I can't say I know what it feels like because my senior experience 20 years ago was very different. But I know how important relationships are, and that last year to be with your friends can be. So know that we're with you, and we're doing our best as a team to try to replace those experiences that you would have as a senior. But no, that's why I'm wearing my hat today. And you might see a few hat changes today to support all of our high schools, but no, seniors, we're with you, and we're gonna do whatever we can with the restrictions in place to try to make your senior year pleasantly memorable, not just memorable for you. And last, just want to say, I think a crisis is a good test to see who you are as a culture and as a community. And I think in just about every aspect, our culture and our community has risen to the occasion, and everybody's worked together. So I'm just really proud of everybody. And then last, and I can bring it up and maybe at the end of the meeting, but kind of going back to that sense of normalcy and having things like the pledge and the performing arts to start our meeting, trying to figure out how we can still provide some of those experiences for our students. So I know I heard from Keith Nelson, who's been a very involved parent in our district, and he sits on our Measure O committee and has been an advocate for special education, had brought up his willingness to help with connecting some of our students who are in the special education program with the Lunch Buddy program, I believe it's called. So I hope that we can accommodate that if there's an interest with our students to help connect with a virtual lunch. So anything we can do to try to create some of that normalcy, I'd really be interested in supporting. So if there's anything I can do to help connect or help support, I'd love to do that. And with that, thank you, Mrs. Alley, for the time.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hunt. Mr. Hunt, do you need to unmute?
Here we go, technology. I would just echo what all our colleagues have said, that I'm so proud of RUSD, and I think it's, you can only rise to the occasion when there are conflicts, and I think looking back that in the modern times, at least, this will be remembered as RUSD's finest hour. I was talking to Kevin Gordon last week on a separate matter, just getting his advice, and he said, I want you to, and he represents a lot of districts, said, I want you to know that everyone is talking about RUSD and how far ahead they are and et cetera. We heard that from Dr. White early on, and y'all are living up to it, I think, from everyone. And that's why I'm excited about the signs we'll talk about. I'm excited about recognizing them. I think we are getting into a period where people are beginning to get restless and all that, and so things will get a little more tense. The only thing I would ask today is if we could consider, and maybe Mrs. Alavi, it's when you and I get together, and Ms. Ybarra's and Dr. Hansen's input, but though it doesn't become an official holiday, Mr. Obama put it through, I think it's the 2024. It is one in the state of California, and state offices, et cetera, take it off, and that is Cesar Chavez Day. And I'd like to see how we could, if it's possible, to include that. I don't know if it had to be rebargained or not, but, and I know I look at the calendar, there's a lot of different ones, but we live in a community of over 60% Hispanic. He was and is the great leader that brought them forward. And because it is a California holiday, because again, state offices, local county offices, et cetera, I really think that we should look at Cesar Chavez Day, and I would like to bring that to, I don't know if there's a committee, so I would just suggest Mrs. Alavi and I look at it in executive and then bring something forward if it's possible with the input from Mrs. Ybarra, Assistant Superintendent Ybarra, and Superintendent Hansen. And thank you. I'm very proud to be a part of sharing this interesting adventure with all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Mr. Hudnett.
Hello, everybody. One point I want to make is that how appreciative I am that our board has not let the topic of racism leave the spotlight. I remember that. I remember bringing those up in my board comments before, these new board meetings started happening, and the COVID-19 break from school. So, I'm just really glad the board is working on a cure for a different type of virus, the virus of racism, which does not belong at any of our schools. I just love to see that, because when this all blows over, our students, and when we start, going back to our traditional ways, then, we can't still have that virus still being on our campuses. So I think, once this is all over, we can go back and just, just have a better future in our district. So I just wanted to thank everybody for, keeping the topic of racism relevant.
Thank you. Thanks very much. And thank you everybody for your board comments. I concur with all of you. My daughter, my middle daughter, teaches 6th grade online right now. And she's told me what an effort it is to try and to connect with all of her students, especially those students that really need that personal connection that a teacher gives them. And it's difficult. It's difficult for our teachers, and it's difficult, as Mr. Lee brought up, it's difficult for those kids at home trying to learn online. And parents, I give you all kinds of strokes for trying to keep this all together. So thank you everybody for working together to make Riverside Unified the best it can be. And during these particular hardest times, for helping us do our job. We really, really appreciate it. And now we are going to go to public input. Have there been any requests submitted for public input tonight to Kirsten Reno-Frosto? Do you have any comments to give us?
Good evening, Mrs. Alavi. Our comments this evening are all for board topics. There are no public comments at this time.
Thank you very much. All right, now we will consider our consent agenda, and I'm looking for a motion. The consent agenda is rather short. Does anybody have a motion that I can entertain for a consent agenda?
So moved, Brent.
Very
Second, Hunt.
Does
And
Freddie
Ms.
need to
Hunt?
amend the motion at all?
Dr. Farouk, what would you like to do?
No, I was just asking if Freddie needed to amend in terms of the.
Tonight, there are no items for Freddie to abstain from, so it just sort of stands as is. So there's been a motion and a second, and now we will take a roll call vote. And I'll be asking everybody. Dr. Farouk.
Yes.
Mrs. Lockdawson.
Yes.
Mr. Lee.
Yes.
Mr. Hunt. Mr. Hunt. Mute. I'll come back to Mr. Hunt. Mr. Oh. Okay, thank you. Mr. Hunt says yes. Mr. Hodnett?
Yes.
And I say yes. So that does, the consent agenda does pass. Thank you. And now we will go on to our action calendar. And I'm going to first ask for Ms. Reno-Frosto to give any comment cards that you might have on the action. I'm getting some feedback. I'm sorry about that. The action item that we're going to be talking about is an employment agreement between the district and chief academic officer. Ms. Reno-Frosto, do you have any comments?
There are no public comments for the action items, Mrs. Alavi.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the board's part for item number 1?
Mrs. Alavi, I'd like to, because this is a class of 1 for a contract as a cabinet level, I'd like to go over the terms publicly as a requirement by law.
Thank you. Please go ahead, Ms. Kakish.
So congratulations to Ms. Renee Hill entering into a contract with Riverside Unified School District for a term of agreement July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2023. The terms also announce a salary of $223,458, and the work year will be 206 days. And so those are terms that are required to be publicly stated as as part of the approval of this contract. And congratulations to our current Chief Academic Officer, Ms. Lynn Carmen Day, on her appointment as the Superintendent for Upland Unified School District.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Do I hear any comments from any board members?
I'll motion to approve.
Dr. Farouk moves. Do I have a second?
Second, Brent.
Second by Mr. Lee. If there's no further comment, I'll do a roll call. Dr. Farouk,
Yes.
Mrs. Lock-Dawson,
Yes.
Mr. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Mr. Hodnett.
I abstain.
Okay, and I say yes. So that does pass. And we congratulate Ms. Hill. And of course, we're going to miss Ms. Carmen Day very much. We'll now go on to item 2, and that's for resolution 2019-2055 to modify graduation promotion requirements for the 2019-20 school year. Dr. Lewis, would you please give us some background on this?
Yes, Mrs. Alvey, I'd be happy to. And there is a presentation that goes along with this topic. During COVID-19, we have been very challenged to support our students at all of our comprehensive high schools. And there has been leeway given by our states to our Board of Education to provide emergency requirements to adjust graduation credits. So what we bring for you tonight is a resolution. It is 2019-20-55 that allows the board to reduce the credits required at a high school for comprehensive and alternative education to allow students to finish who may be adversely affected by COVID-19. So if we could put up the presentation, please. Thank you, Jeff. You could advance to the next slide, please. Thank you. So what we're bringing to the board for consideration for our comprehensive high schools, and this is an overview and I will get into detail in a few moments, but at comprehensive high schools to reduce from 220 credits to 180 credits, alternative high schools to adjust from 180 credits to the state minimum of 130 credits, and for the adult education school to go from 175 credits to 130 credits. And I reminded the board as I walk through this will not impact all of our students. This will only impact the students that pre-COVID-19, they were in what we call credit recovery, where they were making up credits where they were already behind what I would call an on-track student. So they are taking a 7th period or an 8th period or even an online class or a 0 period to make up credits that somewhere they've struggled with throughout their high school journey. And that does impact all of our 3 campuses. So if we could move to the next slide, please. This came from the CDE frequently asked questions regarding grading and for graduation requirements. As this is just to remind the board that as a state, we have been reminded that we do have flexibility for students in need. And I will get into what students, how that's going to impact them on the next slide. On a case-by-case basis, what we're asking is, as normal, our high school principals will continue to work with their administrative teams, their counseling teams, their teachers to ensure students are progressing along the way. But if for some reason a student that pre-COVID-19 was on track to reach that graduation of 220, but due to unforeseen circumstances of COVID-19, for some reason they're no longer on that path, we're asking that in the beginning of May, the principals will make a recommendation to Dr. Hansen or his designee to allow students that fall under that 220 mark, but at least hit the 180 credit mark to allow to proceed with graduation. We're projecting right now that could impact roughly 50 students at our comprehensive high schools. And just to remind the board, an average graduating class by year is about 3,000 students for our entire district. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So what that would, where that is going to change or impact the credits, you'll notice we still have 4 courses required in English. In mathematics, the requirement to 180 will allow them to graduate 2 years of successful math completion. And as you Scroll down the list in the visual and performing arts, world language, or career technical education, we will decrease from 3 required courses to 1 required course. And also we'll have 1 less elective required. That will allow our students to still graduate from our comprehensive high schools with 180 credits and move forward. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. For the adult school and alternative education, again, case by case, we have all of our principals, site teams, counselors working closely with our students that they are progressing, but providing there are options and stories that we may not have heard of that are causing students to struggle during this time. So we are adjusting credits for approximately 125 students to allow them to finish their high school diploma based on this criteria on the next slide. We would require an alternative edge in the education and the adult school to go from 4 courses of English to 3, which is the state minimum, 2 courses of math. The list will stay the same. The major change will come in the elective area. We will reduce the required number of electives from 4 courses to 0 courses, which just allows students to focus on the most important core classes to complete that high school course of study diploma as outlined by the state of California. So we can go to the next slide, please. So the resolution we bring for you makes a few assumptions. Number 1, we will continue to monitor our students closely during this 4th quarter. As a reminder, our grades at the end of the 3rd quarter for our high school students will become their 4th quarter grade or higher. So for all of those students that for whatever reason at the end of the 3rd quarter, they had the challenges increased by COVID-19, we trust that our teams are still working with those families, working with those students to do everything they can to hit that 220 mark as set by our grad criteria. If for some reason those students are not able to do that, whether it be work commitments and they're not able to engage in distance learning, or family arrangements that they're not able to engage, or other things that we might not be aware of, the principal will then recommend to Dr. Hansen or the designee to allow those students to still graduate based on the reduction of credits that I presented to you this evening. Dr. Farouk, I believe there's a question.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Lewis. My question is I know that because we're not, we have the kind of the do no harm policy, that the students that potentially would be jeopardized, from graduating or whatever their trajectory was prior to this. Obviously, this resolution would help kind of the situation, but I just want to make sure that if students are not participating in the distance learning to increase their standing academically, are we doing any kind of prioritization? I know we're doing outreach to all students to make sure that we understand the circumstances, like you said, on why they might not be participating, but are we giving it like more of a priority and extra effort to the people who potentially are on the brink of whether they're going to graduate or not?
Absolutely, Dr. Farouk. This is the time of year that on all of our high school campuses, you will find counselors and teachers and administrators. They monitor all of their students like always, but you have your students that are, for whatever reason, they might be struggling or they might not be reaching that finish line. And there is that direct outreach, and we are working with those students that are in jeopardy. As a reminder, we did have students that were not near the finish line that chose an alternative setting based on after the 1st semester. So what we're really looking for is for students that were progressing that 2nd semester, that at the end of the 3rd quarter may have been struggling for a multitude of reasons. That outreach is happening to do everything possible to help those students get across the finish line. We will, for the scenarios that may hold true, we still have a plan for summer school if again, for students, for whatever reason, they are not able to get across that finish line, even with this scenario that, to your point, is helping, we do plan on presenting a summer school plan that, again, will get those students to that finish line, knowing finishing high school is our number 1 priority for our seniors.
And one last piece about that, with the summer school plan, and if you don't have the answer, that's fine right now, but do you anticipate that there will be adjustments to the way that the credits are assigned compared to what it conventionally was, or do you feel like it's the only difference will be that it'll be done remotely and distance?
I would like to come back with that. Our team is still building that plan, and we are evaluating all our options. So we will bring that back to you at a later date.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lee.
Thank you, President Alvey. Thank you, Dr. Lewis, for this. I'm very supportive of this, given the circumstances. I don't think we should be punitive to our our seniors who are working to either make up credits or stay on pace to make sure they graduate. I do have a question with the criteria kind of being subjective on the case-by-case basis. How do we ensure that we're applying equal measures regardless of the student and their circumstances, so that I mean, I'm just trying to take out the subjectivity out of it. How do we keep this case-by-case objective to make sure that we're applying the same rules, criteria for every kid?
So, Mr. Lee, that is a topic that has come up, and let me try to explain it a different way. So what you'll notice is it is written as a resolution for students who have to take advantage of it. In another way that you could have done it is we could have reduced graduation credit across the board. So rather than decreasing our entire graduation credit, it's written that way for students who may need to take advantage of that to benefit from the resolution rather than all students. So it is equally given across the board for any student who this has had a negative impact. There is not a criteria that has been established. If there is a negative impact, they are eligible for the credit reduction. And that's where we're having our high school teams work with them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I would like to ask Ms. Rena Frosto if we have any public comment for this item.
No, Mrs. Alavi, we do not.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further questions from any board members?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Dr. Farouk. Do I hear a second?
Second.
By Mrs. Lock-Dawson. I'm now going to do a roll call. Dr. Farouk?
Yes.
Mrs. Lock-Dawson?
Yes.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Hodnett?
Yes.
And I say yes. So that doesn't pass, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mrs. Halvey.
Okay, we're going to move on to the study session, and I'm going to begin by public comment. The study session starts with a report on COVID-19 and the end of the year activities. Ms. Rena Frosto, would you please read any public comments you may have?
Yes, Mrs. Alavi, we have 17 comments for this item. Beginning with our first one, Anthony Gonzalez, regarding graduation ceremonies. In December, RUSD officials and the King Edmund team were understandably boasting about the district being #1 in graduation rate at 97%. It's time to support and reward this graduating senior class for their contributions for the past 4 years. The talk will certainly be that the students should persevere through this obstacle, rise above it, challenge themselves to become better people. While the students are doing those things, it would be nice for their adult leadership to go to bat for them. The students have been told by educators throughout the years that they should respect the educational environment, to be free thinkers and contributors in making the world a better place. It would be wrong to propel them into this uncertain world without an in-person ceremony, which symbolizes closure to their reliance on adults. In particular, it's time for the King admin team to speak up on behalf of the students and to aid in the making the right decision to honor this special senior class that has performed so well in state testing for the past 3 years. Honor them in the same manner that students have been honored in the past and will continue to be honored in the future with an in-person ceremony. Choosing to cancel graduation in favor of a virtual ceremony at this time would be sending the message that the board, district officials, and their own high school admin team is quitting on them. They certainly deserve the best effort of all high school admin teams and district leadership to honor them in person. It would be shameful to have any students leaving RUSD feeling undervalued and underappreciated. Please don't allow their educational contributions to reduce to their name being read over a monitor screen. The next one is Geraldine Flores, also graduation ceremonies. The class of 2020 deserves to walk at their graduation. I have 2 seniors, and amongst their friend group, as well as all of the parents I have spoken to regarding this, there is not one senior who would prefer a virtual graduation over a postponed one. They had so much taken away from them already. Please strongly consider postponing rather than virtual. Thank you. Angela Vogel, thank you for the opportunity to voice our concerns on year-end activities and graduation for the class of 2020. My daughter has been an outstanding and diligent representative of ML King High School and RUSD during her school career. She has been awarded national awards through the project Lead the Way Engineering Skills USA, marched with the band to win the Fiesta Bowl in Arizona, and worked tirelessly to earn admissions into Purdue University this fall. She is very thankful for all the positive mentoring she's received from teachers from elementary to high school and the friendship she has made along the way. She was not prepared to say goodbye on March 13th. King is my daughter's community. Prior to this pause, she spent 8 to 10 hours daily on campus preparing for the upcoming competitions that have now been canceled. These students and her herd, and among them, she was safe. The science has shown us that in their age range, the virus is not a lethal threat. And considering they were close until 314 without transmission, I would say the risk remains minimal. I am pleading for an in-person traditional graduation, modified like the recent AF Academy, and even without parents or families in attendance, as live streaming of the event would be the compromise. This day is about the students, their accomplishments, their mental health, and their closure on this chapter in their lives. Thank you, Angela Vogel, parent of Janae Baree, class of 2020. Next, Elise George, 2020 high school graduation. There was no comment with it. Carmen McGowan Paul. My daughter is scheduled to graduate from Martin Luther King High on May 26th. Although I understand the need for the schools to close and delay of graduation ceremonies, I am not in favor of this board deciding to cancel them altogether. It is an important transitional time for all the seniors. At no time that I am aware of was this decision ever made for any graduating class. They deserve a traditional graduation like all of us who wanted one had. If there are parents and students who are not interested in moving forward, please provide the option for them to be excluded and receive their diploma in the mail. As a parent of a senior, I am willing to work this board and the King staff to ensure a traditional graduation takes place. Liz Young, President Alavi, distinguished board members, and Superintendent Hansen. I want to thank you for the attention, care, and understanding you have demonstrated so far for the students of RUSD during a situation none of us could have imagined would happen in our lifetimes. I would ask that you continue this care and understanding when you make plans for the class of 2020 and their graduation ceremonies. These young people deserve to be recognized in a ceremony that is as close to normal as possible, in person and not through an impersonal computer screen. While a large gathering of hundreds of people is out of the question, I believe that there is a way to create the wonderful lifelong memories each of these students are longing for. I would like to draw your attention to Gulfport High School in Mississippi and the way they are planning to conduct graduation as a possible solution. Thank you so much for your consideration. Kim Mitchell, we need to have the class of 2020 high school graduation rescheduled. These kids have put in many years of hard work to be able to walk and have the pomp and circumstance that comes with graduation. So many rite of passages, accolades, AP honors, prom, senior banquets, senior awards, and recognition and other events have already been taken away, not to mention the final moments of being with friends in celebration for the last time before they leave for college. My daughter will not see many of her wonderful large group of friends that she has made over the 13+ years of school since she will be leaving out of state for college. Not to mention she is the first one of our family to go to a four-year college. To take all this away in one swoop and make it a virtual moment is robbing these graduates again of a joy that they not only deserve, but look forward to. It comes with great sadness as her father, who is a firefighter paramedic and is on the front line, does not even have something to look forward to in the dreary time. We are all a strong community that are lucky enough to belong to a great school district. Please do the right thing for these kids and the families that love them and live in our city. Norma Reyna. I would like the board to consider holding a traditional graduation ceremony when it is safe. My son, as well as seniors, have worked very hard throughout their K-12 years to get to this point. Please do not deny the class of 2020 the opportunity to celebrate their achievements. Teresa Filikowski. I want to start off by thanking the board for their positive attention to the senior class of 2020 and not taking this lightly. These times are stressful for everyone. I have 3 children in RUSD, each one of them dealing with walking out of school and never walking back in. They did not get any notice saying today is your last day to say goodbye to your teachers, friends, or school. Asking that our seniors get the chance to walk and do not do a virtual would make such a huge impact to our community in today's situation. Knowing it may not be done on original graduation day is fine, but do not take this away from our children. Move it to July, maybe even Labor Day. You, the board, hold the cards in your hands. You have the power to listen and show empathy to the parents and kids and try to do a traditional walk and show that we together as a district can get through this. Thank you for listening. 2020 Senior Strong. Lynn Diaz. My daughter is a senior and we would love to see a traditional graduation ceremony when safeguards can be put in place. This is such a special time for all of us. Sydney Magno. A graduation ceremony is a pivotal moment in our young adult lives. As valedictorian and someone who was involved in many extracurriculars at King High School, I can attest to how much work my peers and I have put in, both inside and outside the classroom. A formal ceremony postponed to a later date would be the preferred method of celebrating not only our 4 years in high school, but our entire K-12 education. This is an important time in our lives as we go our separate ways after 13 years of school in the same community and deserves to be celebrated in the way that we have seen in past years and looked forward to for a while. While I understand postponing rather than holding it virtually may cause some individuals to miss out, I'm sure we can find ways to have those who are away from home attend virtually. The loss of an important tradition far outweighs the risk of some seniors being unable to make it. I hope our communities have the opportunity to celebrate this culmination of all of our hard work for the class of 2020. Thank you for your time, Sydney Magno. Karen Magno. I think it is important to have an in-person graduation postponed to a later date. The energy of the celebration is a critical part of the journey. Our graduates, some of whom might be the first in their families, will miss out on a truly special event that we believe is worth waiting for. The graduates have worked hard, the families have supported them along the way, and the community should have an opportunity to come together to recognize all of the accomplishments. I don't believe that a virtual ceremony will be as meaningful. Please consider postponing graduation as a live ceremony later in the summer. Perhaps having a few smaller ceremonies per school so that health guidelines can be adhered to and allowing for slight flexibility of date options to accommodate various needs could work. I realize this has never been tackled, but I also believe we owe it to our students. Sincerely, Karen Magno, parent of senior at Martin Luther King High School. Sarah Brown. The commencement ceremony has been a huge motivator for my children to work hard at school. I understand postponing graduation, but canceling virtual is heartbreaking. I feel the class of 2020 have lost enough. They deserve to have a graduation ceremony, full regalia, full pomp and circumstance. Gabe Diaz. I would like to voice my concerns about graduation for the senior class of 2020. I think the board should be aware that the community would like to see a traditional graduation ceremony take place in order to celebrate the hard work that our students have done to get to this point. It would be wrong not to recognize them in a traditional graduation style. Linda Watanabe. My daughter is a senior at King High School and I feel the graduation should not be virtual and should be postponed to a later date when times are better. These kids have worked so hard all these years for this big day. She has already missed out on all other senior events, including prom. Please consider a later date. I know most colleges now will be online for the fall session anyway. Norma Reyna. I am the parent of a senior at Martin Luther King High School, and I want to voice my opinion to the school board to let them know that we want our seniors to have a traditional graduation ceremony. I've seen that high schools and other districts are opting to have both a virtual graduation ceremony on the date they were scheduled to graduate, as well as in-person graduation to take place at a later date. I hope the board takes into consideration all the hard work students have put in to their education and gives them the opportunity to have a traditional graduation ceremony. Rochelle Vizzelio. As a parent of a senior who attends Martin Luther King High School, I feel that graduation should not be a virtual, just postponed. It's absolutely devastating as a parent thinking that I might not be able to see my child walk across the stage and receive her diploma. These seniors have worked their whole lives for this moment and the ability to walk across the stage to receive their diploma. As seniors, they have already had to go without their senior activities and have been quarantined, leaving a lot of these kids saddened, even depressed by missing out on senior year. Please give them something to look forward to. Please consider having a graduation at a later date. The class of 2020 deserves this. And Mrs. Alavi, that concludes all of the comments for this topic.
Thank you very much. Dr. Lewis, you have a presentation for us?
Yes, Mrs. Alavi, this is Mr. Hansen. Sorry.
Mr. Hansen.
It's okay. Dr. Lewis and myself will be doing this presentation together. Thank you for all those public comments that you have shared. I have received many emails and calls myself and truly have lost sleep over this COVID-19 and the decisions that we've had to make. And so if you could put the presentation up, school board, Dr. Lewis and I are going to walk through an update on where we're at and then get into also end of the year activities. Next slide, please. So the way we're going to organize this discussion is we're going to give a brief update on our meal distribution, the devices, and then monitoring student engagement. We talked to you about that briefly last week. We want to have the community see and have you see one more time, board, how we are monitoring our students who participate so that we know how to better help those who participate or not participate in distance learning. And then we're going to get to the end of their activities. Next slide. So really quickly, this slide, this shows the last 5 weeks that we have been doing meal distribution. We started out and we started at every single school site every single day of the week. And we've changed a little bit over the course, trying to really maintain the directions to maintain our space and to have distance and not bring families out as much. We went from 5 days a week to 2 days a week of serving just last week, April the 13th. And our sites have gone from 52 sites to the 15. We have 4 middle schools, or excuse me, 4 elementary schools, all of our middle schools, and then a variety of parks. And what we have seen is we've been serving on Mondays, and someone can pick up the meals for Monday and Tuesday. Then we serve again on Wednesdays and pick up meals for Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. We're grateful to our vendors. It took our vendors a while to get online with helping us with non-perishable food. But since we've done that, we've actually seen an increase in our meal pickup, and it's working fine. And we've seen a decrease in how many times we're bringing our families out to pick up those meals. So it seems like it's a good place, and I think that we've landed at a good place, and we'll continue to do that for the foreseeable future. Next slide, please. Really quickly, you can see the total meals served. A few of you have alluded to that earlier, over 300,000. Next slide. And this is something else I want you to be aware of. We have served a little over 7,500 meals to outside organizations within our community. Meals on Wheels, you see the number there. We serve at a local daycare center in the city of Riverside and a couple of shelters to include Salvation Army. So of the 332,000, the bulk are going to our kids, as you can see, but we're very happy to help out other parts of our community by serving the 7,500 meals that we have. Next slide. The device distribution. Kudos to the IT team and the ILA team. So many people in our district helped get 14,000 devices out in our district a couple of weeks ago. In addition to that, not represented here, I believe we have 400 hotspots that we got out to a lot of our kids in credit-bearing classes that needed to get those credits and to be able to graduate. And then we ordered additional 1,000 hotspots that we have available that we're going to be pushing out to kids in our preschool through 6th grade program. And you can see on the far right-hand side of the screen there, that's the website that we've built. A lot of professional development with our teachers. You can see the number of times teachers have gone on to that, receiving the professional training, things such as that. and accessing lessons, and you can see the parent support and the number of times our parents have jumped on to learn the updates and how to best support their students. So very, very pleased to, behind the scenes, the people that created these websites in place for our community. Well used. Thank you. Next slide. All right. So now I'd like to transition, have Dr. Lewis. There's been questions that the community and board members have asked us, and we read about LA Unified early on about number of kids not participating in distance learning. And you've asked us to do something in RUSD, how we can better monitor and support the kids that are involved. And so Dr. Lewis, would you talk to the board and to the community about the monitoring tracking tool that we've put in place, please?
Absolutely, Dr. Hanson. And I'd like to start with, as we have talked, just a thank you to our teachers. And I believe each of you spoke about that earlier, but they are the closest to our students. And they are checking on our students and caring for our students and making sure that our students are progressing during this time. So what our team has developed, and this is a unique Riverside document that all of our teachers will be using to monitor what students are engaging with the work. We've defined engagement of their either attending Google Hangouts or Google Meets with their teachers, they're turning in work, or a student is simply corresponding with a teacher via email when they're able to, but there has been a connection. And we're using this once a week to monitor at every school site. Our principals are working with our teachers, focusing on students that we may not have heard from, students that for whatever reason have not been able to engage in learning, and reaching out then and starting with our classroom teacher, number one, but then to support the teachers, we have administrators, we have counselors, we have outreach teams that are reaching out to those families to, number one, make sure they're aware of all the opportunities, and number two, assist if necessary. Walk them through if needed with technology or devices or schedules or whatever might be unique to that family. So we'll be able to report back to you. Our first 2 weeks, we'll be collecting data a week from today. We'll have reported, we're collecting 1 day a week. So by next week at this time, I'll be able to report out to the board by grade level engagement to see if we have more kindergartners engaging than seniors. And we'll be looking at trends and then supporting our school sites with engaging those students that for some reason we have not heard from. So very excited about our outreach efforts and our document tool to make sure our students are engaging with the work that we're setting before them. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So the next part of the presentation is a challenging topic for all of us, and especially our Board of Education. And you have commented on the circumstances we all never thought we would be in this time of year that impact everything from kindergarten to seniors, and the care that we heard from public comments and our student leaders that I'll get to in a while, but just teachers that have commented in different forums that we've been in. So just one, acknowledging students, parents, and staff. We understand how difficult this is, and we understand how when we change routine and change things that we've honored, none of that is taken lightly by anybody. So tonight we're going to bring to the board some recommendations that are talking how we're going to get through this time of year. So let's go to the next slide, please. So what we've done before we make recommendations under Mr. Walker's leadership is we work under all county health orders. We look at the type of events, we look at stakeholder input, and then as the board has guided us to prioritize our students and ensure that students, even during this difficult time, we're still keeping some sense of normal and recognizing their efforts. So hopefully you will hear that trend this evening. Next slide, please. Thank you. So starting with our elementary school, this is not an all-encompassing list. These are just to give the board some ideas of what our teachers and their creativity and our administrators and all the people at our school sites, what they have done to try to help our students through this time. So the first thing, starting with elementary school, and I'm going to walk through by level, award ceremonies. Things we typically take for granted where we're recognizing student efforts and their achievements. Obviously, we have postponed those due to the current situation we are in. So elementary schools will be mailing home all those certificates, and even some are doing it virtually and finding different ways, whether that be a video message or phone calls or things on their website. So that's what we're doing with awards. Sixth grade promotion. We've asked all of our elementary schools, and all of our principals are working with our teacher leaders in sixth grade to develop some type of virtual celebration that not only we can have to commemorate their sixth grade year, as that's that milestone before moving on to seventh grade, but also something they can keep and remember the year of 2020 as a sixth grader. And then all of our volunteer teas is one example, but working with our PTAs, all of the adult events have at this time been postponed. And at the time this started, it was postponed, and now we have canceled those for the end of the year. Now let's progress to middle school. Middle school, you will find a very similar trend. Award ceremonies, we are mailing or having virtual ceremonies as well. I'm sure you've been made aware of some different middle school things that we are doing to put out the message and recognize all of our students' or accomplishments. And just know that our school sites that I know that's appreciated on behalf of the board and for the parents that are receiving those. 8th grade promotion. We know that that is a milestone for our students leaving middle school and heading into high school, and finding ways to commemorate that experience. So all of our middle school principals and assistant principals and teacher leaders are putting together virtual celebrations, again, similar to what you'll find in 6th grade, but recognizing 8th graders and finding photographs and videos and putting that together as a video that will be put out to all of our 8th graders to wish them well in high school. Before I move to the next slide, and we can stay here, that's either one is fine, thank you. As we move to high school, I know Mrs. Alavy and Dr. Hanson and I were able to meet with our high school seniors and talk and hear how they were feeling, to check in with them and to ask them a lot of questions in regard to, as you heard from members of the public earlier. So Dr. Hanson, I'd like to turn it back over to you and Mrs. Alavy and talk about that meeting that we were able to have with our class of 2020 before I progress.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Lewis. We did have a meeting with all of our high school principals. There was high school athletic or activities directors, some assistant principals, student leadership from all the schools, probably 24 to 36 kids represented, members of the Superintendent Student Advisory Council, class presidents and whatnot. And we really did listen. And it caused me to really reflect. I remember, like we all do, I mean, it was that Friday, March the 13th. As Dr. Lewis mentioned, we have been following our county health orders. And it was that day, things have been spinning pretty fast for that week. And that day, our Dr. Cameron Kaiser came out with the announcement about 4 in the afternoon that schools were closed down until April the 30th. I believe that's how far he went into the future. And so we were putting plans in place to do exactly the things that you were seeing presented this evening. But what was difficult during that time of March the 13th, April the 30th, is our governor was doing daily briefings and telling the people of California, you know, about plans that he had in place and whatnot. And I remember very well, he told twice publicly stories of tucking his 2 little girls in bed at night. They're in tears. And he was saying to his girls, I don't know that you're going to make it back to school before summer vacation. And he's saying that again, publicly for all the people of California to hear, yet our schools were only closed till April the 30th. And so, till April the 30th. So we're in this weird time where we knew we were closed to the 30th, but we hear our governor talking that, I don't think you're going to get back in school before summer break. You know, and then of course things started happening. We heard the terms such as stay in place and maintain your space. And the numbers went from 250 down to 10, down to just with your immediate family members. And right now in our county, it's that maintain your space, stay in place, and just your immediate family members. And it's through June the 19th. And yet you hear our graduations are starting that last week of May. And so we needed to do something. And I'm part of, our district rather, is part of a group called Urban Ed Dialogue. They're the 24 largest districts up and down the state. We've had meetings. We're learning what others are doing. We're learning from each other about how we're dealing with these different health orders that we receive from our county. And there's 58 counties, I think I learned, in the state of California, and they all have their own Dr. Kaisers, and they might vary differently because clear up in Humboldt, California is very different than Southern California. So they are unique to the county, but we're learning, and we know that we're closed down till the 19th. And so we started thinking, can we wait? Do we have an in-person graduation? Can we do it in July? Can we do it in August? And yet I hear as late as this week, our governor's again telling stories and saying, I don't know if I'm gonna let professional sports start back up. And he's mentioned hockey. He's mentioned basketball, he's mentioned baseball, he's mentioned football. So I'm reminded that we're back in that weird window in April where we knew we're only close to the 30th, yet he's saying you may not make it back to summer break. And sure enough, we're not back in summer break. Now we're thinking, do we postpone? We know we can't do it in May. Do we do something later, June or July? Yet he's telling stories of, I don't think I'm gonna let, or we should let large professional gatherings. And so we still have this maintain your space and stay in place. And then I get a lot of emails, and I've heard the same things. I have a senior son. I came home on that Friday the 13th, and my senior son, the youngest of 6, has watched his 5 older siblings graduate. And of course, now I'm dealing with it as his father. Dad, what's going to happen to me? I didn't know this is my last day. I didn't say goodbye to my friends. What about graduation? And so I'm living as a parent. And clearly, I shared with you, this is weighed heavily, not just upon my own mind, but upon the minds of the school board and cabinet for all of us, because we know what a big part of our culture is high school graduation. And so here we are, and we got to do something. And so talking to other districts, we started having the idea about perhaps virtual, or maybe we do virtual and do an in-person later on. And then I got an email from a young lady who is a senior at Poly High School. And she says, Dr. Hansen, I hear the talk of postponing and possibly having an in-person one in July, or maybe Labor Day, or maybe at Christmas or winter break. She says, my circumstance differently, yet I'm one of dozens. She said, I've joined the military. I'm going to go in the Marine Corps, and I report the 1st of June. What about me and the dozens and dozens of like me in the district? We won't be able to come back. We have our 14 weeks of basic training, then we get assigned for the next 9 months, to additional training. And I get that because I've had two kids part of the military, the Army and the Marine Corps. And so then of course it's, oh man, how do you get all, and how do you make a decision that's going to exclude, that will exclude some? Do we do that? Don't we do that? And so I realize this is a very difficult decision. And so school board, I just want to say this, we have not gone into this lightly. We met with all those seniors last week. We have other meetings that we're going to do. And Dr. Lewis will let you know, I think overall, there was the feeling of, can we do this in person? But if not, we understand that virtual is better than nothing. And so that's how we've approached this. How do you do both, perhaps? Leading with the virtual, and if we can come back, what does that comeback look like when you still have dozens that can't come back, whether it's the military or the emails I've received from students who are saying, hey, I'm going back to school international. I won't be able to come back for some weekend. Or I'm going back to college East Coast. I'm not going to be able to come back over a weekend. And how do we meet all these? And so that's what we're attempting to do, and to present a plan this evening that I believe is going to be a fair plan, an equitable plan, and some way that we can really make the class of 2020 special and unique. Mrs. Alavi, you were part of that meeting the whole time. I know I'm putting you on the spot as a parent of 3 daughters who have graduated from RUSD schools and a school board member for now 15 or so years. Would you like to talk about your impressions from that meeting we had with the several dozen of our seniors that participated a couple weeks ago?
Yes, thank you so much. In fact, I have a niece who's a senior at Poly, so this is sort of also very close to my heart as well. What I was so impressed about with our group discussion with all of the student leaders was how mature and responsible they were being. They understood that it was hurtful to miss something that they had looked forward to a long time. I know that their choice was to do something, if possible, in person. But I think across the board, they recognized that this was not going to be the ceremony that they had thought they were going to have for years and years. This was not going to be the big ceremony. It was not going to involve being in the football stadium with all their parents and friends. This was going to have to look different. And they were very mature about it and very understanding of our dilemma. And I just want to reach out to those kids and say thank you for being so adult about this situation, because this is not something that we have wanted to have happen. And we feel very, as you say, our hearts are very full because we can't make people happy in this circumstance. So, but the kids were great. They were very mature. I'd like to call upon, if I could, Mr. Hodnett, who is a senior this year, to give us a little insight. Mr. Hodnett?
Yeah. I just want to say that maybe just how how I feel and how my friends feel. We kind of feel like we feel like we deserve, some justice for putting in work. Like, we've had teachers in classrooms that tell us that, school is your job, homework is your job, and you get paid with grades. Like, we grow up, learning that. So it's like, okay, I put in my work, I put in my hours, but then like it's time for my promotion, my bonus, you know, I can't get it. Or if I do get it, it's not, the one that I put in so much work for. So I know it's not anyone's fault. No one's seen it coming, but I can say that, me and my friends, we kind of feel like we've been robbed of a traditional graduation. But we're not saying we've been robbed, like that's out the picture, just that, it's just discouraging that everything happened and May 29th just won't be graduation. That we've been all our countdown timers, all of just every day on the whiteboard in class, just counting down these days, and now we just gotta wait a little longer. But nothing that I know the class of 2020 can't handle. So we'll stay strong, but I just hope the right thing is done.
Thank you. Dr. Hanson, did you want to continue with the presentation?
Yes, I do. And I know that there's a couple of questions. And so with that, remember, board, that our county orders are through June the 19th. It still is stay in place, maintain your space. And it is with only immediate family members. So our graduation the end of May isn't going to happen. I'd like Dr. Lewis to go in place or to pick up now with the rest of this presentation. I see there's a couple of questions from the board. Maybe Dr. Lewis can share a few of the details. It might answer the board's questions, and if not, then we can come back to the questions, Mrs. Alavi.
Very good.
Thank you, Mrs. Alavi. So, Freddie, you summarized how I think all of us feel. The class of 2020 will definitely persevere. So what Mrs. Alavi will bring as a recommendation, and the word that I have tried to keep in my mind is and. Knowing what Dr. Hanson said, and we are monitoring our county. We're living in an age where things are changing frequently, to say the least. So what we're going to recommend, if our current order stays in place, where we are sheltered until June 19th, we talked to the students about doing a few things. Number one is a virtual option. And we talked about what a virtual will look like. There are several companies that can help. There are several ideas out there. We have not landed in one particular area, but it does take about 30 to 40 days to put that together with all of our high schools for all of our seniors. And what that would entail is a virtual ceremony where each student would create a slide that they could summarize for their journey. And they can personalize with their message. It can talk about senior awards they've received, recognition, or just maybe a note of thanks to somebody who has supported them. And then part of it could be with some companies is there's a 10 to 15 second video clip that students can capture themselves and submit in to be part of their slide deck that goes through. It would maintain some of the virtual ceremonies, have their traditional speeches by students that would be captured in it. Would run similar to a live ceremony, but it would all be spliced together as a virtual hour-long ceremony that would be given to students. It would be put out on YouTube for those to subscribe to and watch. And then each student could receive a flash drive or some type of device with that content saved on it for them to have as a keepsake. With that, after May, we also know things could change. And I think the desire on behalf of our students was also very clear of, if things do change, please revisit this with us and find another way to continue to support us. So I would also like to recommend that to the board, that we proceed with virtual. That would replace that end of May ceremony for our students. So we do have something, but also keep obviously tracking and working with our students. We're going to meet with them in the middle, beginning to middle of May. We'll check in with our senior leadership to get an update. And if something changed, we'll plan accordingly. And if nothing has changed, we'll update our seniors on the virtual ceremony. And then we'll check again at the end of May, waiting for those orders to change. But when those orders do change, we'll bring back to the board and engage with our senior leadership of when is it? And then at that time, what is possible? Is it a live ceremony? Is it a reunion of some type? Because it might be months from now. It's very hard to predict. So what we bring to the board is an and comment. Proceed with virtual to have something, and then revisit when we are allowed to no longer shelter in place and pull in some type of gathering. And it may not be a typical large graduation. It may be a smaller crowd, which is students, but something within our county we would revisit at a later date would be our recommendation just around graduation. And then
Dr. Lewis.
I'll speak to. Yes, sir.
Dr. Lewis, I'd just like to interject. I mean, there's been discussions, even if we can't pull it off in 2020, do we do something even in 21? Do we do something next year with the class of 21? Or to the class of 20 come back and they have graduations earlier in the day, you know, and then of course we do 21. So when we're talking, and we're talking a long time, maybe we're going to get lucky and it's going to be in July. I don't know, with our governor saying that he may not let professional sports start up, or could this even be as late as a year from now? We are again recommending, as Dr. Lewis said, the and will be when we can come back to do something, some type of celebration or a graduation. I just wanted to be clear on that.
So Mrs. L, it might be best if I pause and take some questions if there are any.
Thank you. There sure are. Dr. Farouk.
Trustee Lock-Dawson actually had a question before me.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Lock-Dawson.
Thanks. Thanks, Dr. Farouk. I wanted to hear.
Mrs. Lock-Dawson, shall we take Dr. Farouk first?
No, I lost my video feed from you all, so I can't.
Sorry.
So I was just trying to mess with it. No, I can't see anything. So
sorry.
I just wanted to ask Mr. Hodnett if he had a preference, what it would be.
A preference between a virtual graduation and a traditional graduation?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what, you know, the options that they've been talking about, I mean, you know, waiting for a while or doing, I mean, what do you think?
I think that a traditional graduation as soon as possible would be ideal for me. As soon as the day that we can have one, let's have it that day. Just the way we would in May. That's what, I mean, if that's possible, that's what I would like.
Okay, thanks. That's what I want. And I just want to tell everybody, I'm going to log off and log back in, okay? So I don't have any video, so thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Farouk.
Thank you, President Alavi. So I just wanted to make kind of two comments. One is, I know that obviously this is a very unfortunate situation, and obviously none of us can relate to what the students and the families are feeling right now. I mean, at least some of us that don't have a senior right now. But I just want to say one, I
completely lost video.
Yeah.
So one, I just want to empathize with everyone that's going through that. The second thing I just want to say is I've gotten a lot of input from parents that are not actually aware that graduations in general are optional, that you get your diploma whether you participate in it or not. I only mention that because some of the parents have been telling me that they don't want to do the virtual at all. And they're just going to wait until the policies from the county health officials, the governor, and so forth are lifted, and we can potentially do a physical one. And again, they don't want to do both; they just want to do that, and they have this misunderstanding that that means that their child might not actually get a diploma while we're waiting for that formal ceremony or something. Again, maybe it's a small number of people, maybe it's just anecdotal from the parents that have shared with me, but one, I just think we shouldn't assume that people are aware of that, and make sure that people are, again, aware that if you've met the criteria, you'll get your diploma and graduate, whether you opt to wait for the physical one, if we have that later, or do the virtual. That's the first thing. The second thing is one of our active PTA members, Liz Young. She spoke earlier with a comment. She cited an example from Gulfport, Mississippi. I'm assuming because of the time constraint, she didn't elaborate on what that example was. I just wanted to share that because I thought it was a very interesting example of what people are doing creatively to make this work. So in this high school, and I'll give the disclaimer, I don't know how large this high school is, and I know we have some very large high schools, and the logistical coordination of this, I'm sure, would be very challenging. But what this high school, Gulfport, is doing is they want students to be able to experience the act of being in their cap and gown, physically going on stage, getting a photo of them in that cap and gown. And so they're actually, I don't know if the meal service is a good analogy, because that's kind of an essential service involving food, but somewhat similar. There's an allotted time that families are given, that they have to show up at the auditorium in their cap and gown. And then there's a professional photographer, again, maintaining the 6 feet distance and all of that, with each of the students would go through the motion of, again, having the cap and gown, going on stage, getting the professional photography done. But the difference is that there wouldn't be a physical audience, there. In the example of Mississippi, and again, I don't know how applicable it would be here, they actually allow up to 4 family members, because the policy is about families. If you're already living together, that you could physically, the family could be together, for them to actually even be physically there, to witness that. And again, I just want to give the disclaimer, I don't know how much of this would be applicable now, or if we had to wait till later in the summer. And then the other aspect is that the Pledge of Allegiance, again, a student would be have the opportunity to do that physically on the stage through the whole normal process. And each of these things would be videotaped and edited, so that continuously, if someone, just like in a graduation ceremony, when people videotape the ceremony, they would essentially get a similar experience, because oftentimes cameras don't necessarily pan to the audiences anyway. And the speeches that the students were scheduled to make, again, they would be able to physically make them on the stage, videotaped, and all of this could be professionally edited in. I had texted this to Dr. Hansen. Again, Liz Young was the one who shared that with me and mentioned that earlier. Just putting that out there as something to consider feasibility.
Thank you. Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Mrs. Alavi. I just wanted to kind of share my insights and thank Freddie for sharing his insights as someone that's going through this and going through the motions and experiencing all the feelings that you experience with the impact that COVID's had on our seniors. I just want to reiterate my comments that I made at the beginning of the meeting, and just share my empathy with the 17 or so speakers that commented on this issue, and that there's no easy decision. I mean, regardless of the decision that you make, it's going to impact somebody in a negative way. And I think Dr. Hansen shared a good point. I mean, delaying graduation and not offering some alternative is going to negatively impact those that are going into our military and serving our country. Also those that are going to go away to college to another state that can't get back. Those that have made commitments maybe to their church. Those that have job obligations and aren't able to get off work. I mean, so there's really no good solution. So I think that the staff recommendation to be versatile and flexible is really the only way forward. And that we know what we can do right now, given the constraints that the county and the state have put on us. And that at least providing something, even though I know it's not ideal, to everyone on the day that we said we would do it is better than nothing. And that when we get through the other side of this, hopefully it's this summer that we'll be able to provide an experience that we're all accustomed to for our seniors, and that those that are able to participate can show up and we can provide that experience for them. So I just want to share that while I cannot say I know what you're going through because I don't have a senior, my kids are all little, but I can only imagine. So I mean, I'm in agreement with staff's recommendation to proceed with the virtual solution for now, with the understanding that when we are able to provide a normal graduation, we'll do so.
Thank you. Mrs. Lock-Dawson.
Thanks. I just wanted to apologize. So I could not, my screen was entirely black and I could not even get on there to mute myself or shut the camera off. So anyway, I think it's all good. So thank you, everybody. Just wanted to apologize.
No problem. No problem. Any other comments? Mr. Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Lee, for reaching over to Freddie. I think it's important. And Freddie, we all feel for you and your class. You know, believe it or not, I went to the 50th year celebration of the founding of my high school, and I was a freshman. And I know that sounds like a long time ago, Freddie, but it's going to go by quick. And it is emotional. I mean, graduations go back to Harvard in the 1600s, and they have great traditions, and we really continue the mortarboard and all that. And it is a moment. I remember mine. I guarantee, I promise you, everyone else on this screen remembers with fondness that day where mom and dad are so proud of you and you're proud of your classmates and all. But I think what Dr. Hansen was saying, I'm sorry about the but is that it really is up to the governor. I don't know how we're going to, I would have a lot of concern about bringing everybody together right now. And I think it was you, Dr. Fruk, and our Mr. Lee's talked about, and as Dr. Hansen alluded to, you know, our graduates in 2020, the idea of graduating is to move on, and they're going to be in jobs and other things. So I'm very concerned that if we don't do something for them now, we may always lose that opportunity. Maybe because I'm older, but I'm a little bit, everything I read on this COVID is pessimistic. Second wave, and definitely the social distancing. I think it was the Harvard study. No, it was I forgot now which university I sent out to my board, but estimating that the distancing and all will last to 2022, and that to bring everyone together like that would also present and I hate to bring this up, Freddie, but it would also present a legal liability because we've asked you to come, you want to go, and if something happens and someone gets contracted COVID, it's a problem. So I'm glad. I appreciate my colleagues. I appreciate, as I know you do, what our staff has been doing, trying to make the best out of it. I know they're looking around at other districts. I haven't found anything across the nation where anybody's with any smarts, except for one independent school, is going to have a graduation, but you know, like we always have. So, and they're going to live stream it, and parents aren't going to be there, and that helps, I guess. But it's just very difficult. I do think whatever we do, and like everything in this time, the messaging and the continued communications with our community, with our parents, and particularly with our seniors, needs to be as strong as possibly can be, and articulates well reasoning and options. I had a parent call me today, Tim Strack, who's got 2 kids graduating this year, and Greg Bowers has 2 granddaughters. Both of them said, "Hey man, let's go with the graduation." But you know, Bowers at Elsinore knows that you really can't do that. So I think we continue to look. If there's a break in the storm, we could, you know, though a graduation is quite a undertaking by the staff and everything we rent, but I just really think we shouldn't be overly optimistic. And Freddie, I'm sorry, but it's a new era has started that a lot of things we're used to, and graduation is a beautiful thing. You know, an achievement. I'm the first, you know, my mom and dad didn't get to graduate from high school, so it was a big thing. You know, my sister and I did. So I'm sorry about that, but it is a new day. And I think we should really concentrate on what we can do and continue to watch the, you know, we have Kevin Gordon, we have CSBA, David's in a very good group. You know, if there's a break, maybe there's something else we can do. But even right now, and Sergio can tell us, this has got to be a hard thing to put together. I think we rent stands and chairs and all kind of things. So just my comment, I'm very distressed for y'all, Sergio, Freddie. And I would tell you, I can understand what you're going through, but I wouldn't be doing truthful. I wouldn't be truthful because that what you're going through is unprecedented and very distressing. And you know that your board, which you're part of, is going to do everything they can with this district to find a way to get there, Freddie. Thank you, Mrs. Alvey.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Mrs. Lock-Dawson.
Thank you. I do know, I don't know if everybody's seen, but anybody who has a senior going off to college this fall probably got a notification that most colleges are anticipating that they will not have in-person classes in the fall. They will not, no students will be moving into dorms, no, you know, nobody's going to be doing anything normal, I think. So I don't think they're planning on letting anybody come into the dorms until 2021 at the earliest. So I just think this is just a crazy time. What I do think though about Freddie's generation and the kids that I know, my daughter's friends, you guys are so uniquely positioned to seize this moment and make it something special and different in the way that no other class could. And it will be really the most memorable type of graduation or graduation ceremony that anybody's ever seen, because I think these students will find a way to make it special and make their mark on it. So I'm hoping that's the case. I'm hoping we do get to have a celebration for you in person, but I'm confident that students are going to come together and find a way to celebrate and mark this occasion in a unique way that's going to go down in the history books. So
thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hanson.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Alavi. I just want to address really briefly, follow up with something Trustee Hunt said about bringing an in-person graduation. We have done those so many times. I don't want to talk too confident or too big, but Trustee Hunt, we could pull it off in a weekend. If we knew that on Friday we're open back up for graduations by the next Tuesday, it could be done. We've done it so many times. We could pull that off pretty quickly with a quick turnaround. It's the virtual graduations. You have over 3,200, 3,500 kids in our district graduating. You heard Dr. Lewis, that takes 4 to 6 weeks. We have a really good video of staff, but we need to go outside and have vendors help us, because that kind of video for 9 of our different schools, 10 if you can count project team, and to have 15 seconds per student to put a video together, that's the one that takes a lot of time. That's why we're leading our recommendation with the virtual, because we need 4 to 6 weeks to pull that off. Could we pivot that fast in person? Yeah, give us a weekend and we'll have a really good graduation. And so that's why we're leading the way we're leading.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say I really felt what Freddie was saying, that he said he felt cheated. And I agree. I think that class of 2020 is cheated a bit, because they're not getting what they signed up for. But then again, I look back through history and I think that those kids in World War II were cheated when they didn't get their graduations, or those kids going to World War I. I mean, there have been a lot of moments in our history when kids have gotten cheated from their traditional celebrations. So I would ask parents to say to their kids that it's not ideal, it's not desirable, We will do everything possible to give kids whatever we can possibly do, but to be strong and to be brave about it, because it's a defining moment for this generation. And this generation's going to have to step up and be the big kids now. I think they're going to be the grown-ups. I think they're going to do it. And I think they're going to be doing it very maturely. And I have a lot of confidence in them. So back to you, Dr. Hansen, to wrap this up.
Yeah, Dr. Lewis, just once you wrap up the last few slides and go into a little bit of detail, then that will be the end of this presentation. Thank you, trustees.
Well, thank you, and thank you for everybody's comments. So moving on, we have other high school celebrations. Just to update the board. We had our legacy and heritage. All of those will be going to virtual, as well as our year-end banquets will be going to virtual. The one thing that is a positive that was completed, all of our yearbooks for middle school and high school were pre-closure date for all the submittals. And I know our yearbook staffs worked very hard to get those in and get them finalized. And a couple were at the last minute, so thank you for the efforts. But all of the yearbooks will be finalized and distributed both middle school and high school. So that's a good news that we could share. Senior activities are canceled, but again, we're going to work with our seniors on, as things change, we will again be taking that input and seeing what virtual options we have. I know I've seen everything from virtual spirit weeks to virtual connections. So we'll continue to work on there. And just so the board knows, parents who paid for items, whether it be for tickets or for grad night or for field trips or for camp deposit donations, all of those items, our school sites did work with those families through our business services office to mail those donations back to our parents or anything that was paid. So that if it's not been completed, it's still in process, but I've actually heard from some of our community who have received those and were appreciation. So that was taken care of as well. If we go to the next slide. And just last, RUSD events, and just for the one I'll highlight is celebrating student excellence. That is another large celebration we do district-wide. I just want to reassure the board and thank the team. All of those awards and recognitions will be mailed with a note on behalf of the Board of Education. Thank you for putting that together, congratulating all of them for their work and for their achievements. So that will be sent out as well. And we can go to the last slide. And in conclusion, just as a class of 2020, we have two projects that our team is working on to support our seniors. And this is for all of our graduates, including the adult school. Both banners are being designed and purchased, as well as yard signs. Will be surprising our seniors with a yard sign. And then they're working on a class of 2020 shirt to just support our seniors and just show on behalf of the district. We're proud of them and appreciate what they're doing. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Lewis. Are there any further comments from any board members? Okay, thank you very much.
Ms. Allaby?
Yes, Mr. Hunt.
Dr. Hansen asked me to bring forward, if this is the right time, Mrs. Allaby, the options on the signs we've come up that Dr. Lewis referred to. And so we can proceed with getting everyone's
okay,
input.
Dr. Lewis, are you prepared to give us some options on signs?
I've been printing forever trying to figure all that out. So if I may, our staff, after our directions and all of that, under Brittany, went out and solicited 3 different printers and asked them for input. They gave them some ideas. They came back with numbers. At the same time, PIP, of course, is a big entity all around, and was already doing this as a corporation. And they contacted me yesterday, and I said, well, send us what you got. We're looking at it. So I'm going to show you a little bit of difference here. The first one I'll show you will be the one that the district helped organize. The 2 sizes that Brittany tells me they're looking at is 12 by 18 and 12 by 24. The PIPs are 24 by 18. So this is the first. Let me just show you Arlington. Can you see it good on, everybody see? Okay, so this is the district one, included the logo we wanted and that sort of thing. This is the first one by PIP. And then we asked them to do more of a uniform and take the 2020 and motorboard on the mascot. So that is that one. Just give you an idea. Here's the district's design of King. And the first one, we had them go back because it needs to say Martin Luther King High School, not King High School. So, and then Mr. West, we had talked to him, and instead of the K, which we know are some problems, They have a new wolf mascot that they've done, and this 2020 will stay consistent. And this one does say Martin Luther King High School. Freddie, here's North. So that's the district's design. This is the first one that PIP did. And then again, we asked them to make a few other changes, which I think they balanced it better with John W. North. 2020 is the same way. So we have some uniformity in that. And then this is down here. You know, I'll just go through quick. Here's Poly District, first try by PIP, second try. And again, it's hopefully to get some of the same look. Ramona, I'm not leaving anybody out. Ramona by PIP. And we made sure STEM. Oh, let me show you. I really like Lincoln's. This is Lincoln by the district. Nice. Very well done. This is oh, and by the way, I'm sorry. Both of these, all of them will be two-sided. So one side will be in Spanish, the other side in English. So this is Abraham Lincoln's by PIP. I think it looks nice. Here we have STEM. And, here we have STEM by PIP. There was only 19 graduates. We don't want to forget them. Project team, nice design by our folks. Designed by PIP. And lastly, I'll hurry. Here's our EOC folks by our district, and I'm sorry, by our district, and by PIP. PIP is would not charge. They're doing this as a community thing. They're selling them actually for $9.99, up to $9.99, and they're not charging any design. None of the PIPs are. They're doing this as a community thing. They are all of these companies are vendors. PIP is a preferred vendor. PIP signs I recommend that because they're 24 by 18 versus 12 by 18 or 12 by 24. And they're like most campaign signs, they're on the corrugated plastic that will hold up well. And PIPs are $6. These are the other folks are $7. So it's not that big of a difference. The district would like, Dr. Hanson had looked at, if we did this, that we divide this out to 4 printers. I would advise against that. I think it's a recipe for, mistakes and comparison and all that. Just give it to one. All of them have said, by the way, they can have it by the end of the week if we give them the go ahead. And that's everyone has said that. Dr. Hanson, do you want to
Thank you.
counter what I just said?
Let's, I think we can take this off of the board meeting and actually put this to Dr. Hanson and committee. What do you think?
I don't agree with that because Dr. Hanson wants to go with all 4 and he wants to use what I think is not as nice of
Mr.
as PIP can do.
How about if we let students decide then? We have already our students in a group. Maybe we could let them.
Well, that's great, Ms. Valley. Let's do it soon.
Okay. Dr. Hanson, do we have some marching orders for that?
We do have some marching orders. We thought we were clear last week as we showed you the banners that were designed and you said add the logo. We did that, but now there's been a change, which is, I mean, this is not a problem. We can do that. Where the signs will not be up on Monday, that was the plan. This may slow it down a week or so. So if that's the direction the board will be happy to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Hudnett.
I just want to comment on what Mr. Hunt said about the King being Martin Luther King High School. I just think that's very important, and that we start, just promoting the school as, the name of the school, Martin Luther King High School, just for like years to come. I think it makes us look good as a district too, having a school like that. I just want to.
I agree. Thank you. Thank you very much.
May I say that if Dr. Hanson were to get his student leaders on a call like this in the next 48 hours, we could go forward and try to meet next week. I mean, if that's what we want to do, that's great, but we do need to move.
If I may just add a comment, Mrs. Elavy.
Yes.
I just want to just comment that this work has been done through collaboration of principals and our team from communication. And the design was done by our designer.
I'm sorry, we lost you, Maze.
Sorry, the mute button keeps going muted for, I don't know why. So I'll repeat that the design work was done by our classified member, and having to take this design from our team and taking it to a vendor would be taking.
Come on. You know, Maze, that I don't get that. It's about the sign at the end of the day.
Our classified
It's about what we give to the child and the student in their yard. Our people are getting paid. They ought to be big enough that if they get rejected, if that's the decision, they can handle it. I mean, there is a significant difference, in my opinion, between this and that.
I don't think this is the place, though, to judge artwork.
Well, I was asked by Dr. Hansen to present it, so that's what I was doing.
Thank you. I will have Dr. Hansen take it back to his student leadership and make the decision. Okay. Any further comment by any other board members? All right, we're moving along then. We will now move on to a board presentation and update on our equity 2019-20 equity actions. Ms. Reno Frosto, do we have any comments regarding this from the public?
No, Mrs. Alavi, no comments for this topic.
All right, then I turn this over to Dr. Jackie Perez, our Assistant Superintendent for Equity, Access, and Community Engagement.
Wonderful. Thank you, President Alavi, Dr. Hansen, and esteemed board member. I'm really excited to share the equity actions from this school year. Jeff, if you don't mind proceeding to the next slide. So the purpose of this presentation is to provide you with an update to the 2019-20 equity actions that just happened this past year, and an update on the school and community actions, some current equity issues associated with the COVID-19 school closures, and a little explanation of how we're working through that, and close with the recommendations for a 3-year equity plan moving forward. Next slide, please. Just a brief history. I've been providing equity updates every year, and so for the public, I do want to give some perspective as to where we've been up until this point. So it really did start in October 2017 with a call to action to address the equity and access gap in RUSD. And really the first 2 years, we spent some time with an equity steering team, staff, and then the formation of a community-based equity task force. From there, we worked through actions, which will be included as a part of the presentation, up to a very significant shift for us in RUSD, and that was the creation of this position that I hold and really transforming the district to be a lead in this work. And up until March 13th with school closures. Next slide, please. So more specifically, this year, we worked through our equity task force, the equity steering team, and our action teams. Some schools really have been taking the lead in this work, as well as community leaders and partners that have been much more actively involved this year as a district. And we continued this work through the lens of practices, policies, protocols, and professional learning. And so really this is our framework that we've worked through the last couple of years, and we're at the point to evolve, which will be explained also in our 3-year plan. Next slide. I want to take pause though and really highlight the work of the equity task force. It really is evolving. I want to extend my extreme gratitude though for the steadfast participation and critical lens of our staff, families, and key community leaders for the last 3 years. The task force is comprised of about 40 participants, but we have about 20 that have been consistently participating. And that really is board member Brent Lee. We have our student board reps, RUSD administrators and teachers and counselors, RCTA President Dave Watring, CSA Rep Joy Hurst. Our parent leaders have been amazing. PTA President Mary Beth Loyal, DLAC President Mariela Fernandez, and APAC President Jessica Shields. Professor Christy Woods from Riverside City College, Professor Austin Johnson from UC Riverside, Associate Dean Pike from Cal Baptist, our partners at Riverside County Office of Ed, Dr. Ursula Estrada Ravelis and Dr. Charles Brown, Jorge de los Santos from True Evolution, Yolanda Esquivel, President of LULAC, as well as the partnership with the city. So again, just kudos. I wanted to start with that core group who really have been steadfast in supporting our equity efforts here in RUSD. So our work this year really was spent on a few critical areas, and this particular year of note that I want to highlight is drafting an equity board policy, which really is going to set the tone and vision moving forward. And so that will come to a later board meeting for a first read. Additionally, we crafted a disproportionality definition. So we have a benchmark and common language for all of our staff. And most important, in our last few sessions that will continue virtually into next month, was really re-envisioning our purpose to one that is greater community outreach. And we're going to spend some time this next month on training on how to maximize listening circles so that our equity task force can continue to develop partnerships in their role.
Dr. Perez, Dr. Farouk has a question.
Absolutely.
Just real quick, when you said defining disproportionality, where is your source on how that's defined, or did you guys do that collectively as a group?
We did that collectively as a group. We've been very fortunate that Dr. Austin Johnson from UC Riverside, his research and his work is in that. And so we collected lots of definitions of disproportionality for it to come to fruition, grounded in what we believe in RUSD. And so I'll actually read it to you now. Disproportionality refers to the over or under representation of a specific group compared to their representation in the overall student population. So we wanted a definition that we could apply in a common way when we're looking at gaps across different student groups.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. So I want to highlight a couple of the areas that we worked on with equity action. So with each of these, we have a team lead and an action team. They put together work plans, but there's two that I really wanted to highlight. The Joint Discipline Committee, what initially started as a focus on suspension rate and positive behaviors, really evolved to a joint venture with our CTA to look at discipline and student behaviors from a holistic end, and also to validate the work that teachers are doing in the classroom as well. That's also coming to fruition and moving into next year as well. Kind of hit pause when school closures took place. But that work is definitely going to continue. There's new legislation that occurred this past year with regards to discipline codes, and certainly moving into fall 2020, it's going to look different how we school, what schooling looks like. So I'm excited that that team is created and going to move forward into next year. The other one that I want to highlight is cultural proficiency. We've been slowly training in previous years. This particular year, we spent time training all 200 of our managers around cultural proficiency, and more specifically, critical race theory, privilege, and implicit bias. And really our belief was to set the tone amongst our leaders to be able to lead this work at their schools and in their departments. So that work will continue into next year, as well as expanding through our clusters and teams, which will be explained in the later slide. Homework policy and grading practices is another big work that's going to be moving forward, and that will take another board meeting to go in depth into that in a couple of months. Next slide. So I wanted to highlight a few equity-related issues that have been taking place at our schools. One of note has been at University Heights Middle School. Principal Katie Grimble and her staff worked very diligently, and then so many kudos to the staff for really creating an environment that's inclusive. However, there are conflicts among Black and Latino students. So given that context, Katie has reached out and is developing relationships and support with NAACP, in particular President Dr. Regina Pattenstell, so that they can continue building out restorative practices and some capacity around students to be able to coexist and really engage in a positive way. I want to highlight two that are more of note and very present are the issues that took place at Martin Luther King High School and Amelia Earhart this year. Martin Luther King High School has experienced over the years some concerns around racism, xenophobia, diversity. And so I will extend a lot of kudos to the principal and staff. They have an equity team. They have been trying to tackle this head on to really change the culture and climate, not only in the school itself, but also in the cluster, and they're going to be leading those efforts. I wanted to share with you that their equity team, which is comprised of staff, of students, that have been meeting regularly, they crafted an equity statement this year that really demonstrates the evolution of where they have gone. I am not saying that they do not have a lot to go to really transform the culture in there so that there are absolutely no instances of racism, but their statement says, "We will not tolerate behaviors that demean, belittle, intimidate, or hurt any individual or group." That is significant for this entire staff to get around that and to really rally around what is best for all students. Another piece of note, which I'll mention in a later slide too, is we're really exploring as a cluster a partnership with the Anti-Defamation League around No Place for Hate, so that the culture and climate is really one that students feel welcome, girls feel welcome to walk around campus, different cultures feel comfortable, and there's just a sense of unity on campus. That has spilled down a little bit to Amelia Earhart with one of their video posting that took place this past school year. And so kudos to the staff and Principal Chan, who were able to tackle it head on, really getting some input from families and convene restorative circles. And it was about the time that the school closures happened that we were really amping up some student-based activities to, again, to begin shifting the culture to one that is much more inclusive. Of note, I just wanted to include that Mr. Cisneros and his equity team also are working through grading practices and just looking at some reflective equity issues there at Ramona High School. Very different culture and climate than over in the Orange Crest area, but a lot of effort happening there. So we're in evolving times, and I do, again, just want to express some gratitude for the leadership and the staff for tackling racism head on. This is definitely a shift for many of our schools. Next slide, please.
Mr. Lee, would you like to ask your question now? Oh,
No, I'll wait till she's done.
okay, thank you.
Thanks. So the role and support of our community leaders and partners have increased, especially in the last 2 years, in response to the issues that happened up at a couple of our schools. So I really do want to just take the time to acknowledge the strength and voices of our community partners who have been so supportive over the last 3 years, at least in the work that I've been able to engage in and with the district. That's the NAACP with Del Roberts, Dr. Regina Patstell, and Jelani Bakari, with Latino Work Network and LULAC, Ophelia Yeager, and Yolanda Esquivel, and our faith-based communities, both Rabbi Singer and Rabbi Fuss, are getting much more involved in supporting some of the work that's going to be happening at Martin Luther King High School and at Earhart. So it was around that time in January and February, Dr. Hansen convened a community leaders meeting. And really that was to initiate the discussion to create a safe space for a community discussion on racism, diversity, and inclusivity. And so from that, we began early discussions. Again, we only convened once, with many side meetings thereafter around some shared commitments. The city developed a citywide statement. So it really is a jumping off point for our work moving forward, that racism is not, it cannot just be tackled by RUSD alone, but this is a huge issue that we're going to tackle as an entire community and a city with all of the leaders from our different stakeholder groups. So I want to transition to the next slide, because this is all leading up to March 13th. So the pandemic hits and now we are in school closures, and we are experiencing new equity issues during this period. What it feels like is it's almost that we've ripped off the band-aid of disparities that we often see. School communities are the safe haven for kids and for students. And now we're seeing a lot of issues, different issues coming out because they're not allowed to come onto school and be oftentimes in that very safe environment. So some of the supports that we're being very mindful of and working through, and certainly not proficient yet, but also working with our neighbors and other districts to look at best practices, is how do we set up supports for our resource vulnerable students and families, our undocumented students, students with disabilities, our English learners. So our departments and teams have been developing outreach, resources, and supports. There's so many kudos just for our instructional team members to have developed the distance learning plan. But we also realize there are concerns around some students and families still needing access to the internet. So continuing to try and provide resources and find free resources for them to work through. Making sure that all of our materials are user-friendly and in multiple languages. One of the translations, and we're so grateful to the Guatemalan consulate, is making sure that we have translations to Ganohobal, which gives us a little bit of lag time to make sure that our families have everything they need in their home language. Do you want me to respond to a question?
Yes, Mr. Lee.
I was just going to provide some insight when Jackie's all done about just the whole process up to this point being on the committee. So I don't necessarily have a question. I can wait till the end once all the questions are answered and she gets through the slides.
Dr. Farouk.
Thank you, President Alavi. My question is, have we looked into potentially students reaching out to other students if maybe they might be able to get a more favorable response compared to people trying to reach them if they're not participating in distance learning, things like that?
I believe that was a newer idea that we're going to be exploring. So I don't have a response just yet, but that was brought up to us later in the week. So we'll be exploring that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So some of the issues that we are seeing now, also we're going to have to take into account as we move into fall 2020. Not only looking at best practices, but how do we ensure that teachers have all the training that they need, not only to engage in this work in distance learning, but also there's going to be some different needs also anticipating when we return back from school. So there's more to come. So next slide. So we've now come to a point after all of this work over the last 3 years at different levels really has informed the evolution of us to this point where we're looking at a 3-year equity and community engagement plan. And I wanted to point out with this because it is notable and speaks to the growth of us as a district, is that looking at all of the research around best practices for tackling systemic equity, we hit it on many levels, making sure that there is public declaration that we're expressing the need for equity. The board has done that since the inception of the call to action, having strategic partnerships, and we're working through that. This is why we have our community engagement arm, really investing in the leadership to lead this work by shifting my position, by adding the community engagement component to the LCAP director, and also for us to continue to evolve as an organization where we're intensively analyzing our data and anticipating what that could look like moving forward. And all of our actions, the actions that we addressed, that I addressed in a few slides ago, have informed the need for implementing these policies and systems. So the next few slides, I will just highlight some of the big components. If you'll go ahead to the next slide. With policies and systems, these really are where the district office can support schools in developing and evolving current policies and practices. We're going to be building out our equity, access, and community engagement website and resources so that families and teachers and staff can easily find tools that they can readily use in their classroom or in their workspace. Looking at developing an equity audit for pilot schools and departments, and also preparing equity policies, like a big one around equity policy, but also regulations around what does it look like as a tool for schools to have one around hate motivated behavior. So we have some common expectations for how we feel students should behave on campuses. Looking at discipline and anti-bullying programs as a jumping off point from the Joint Discipline Committee. And also of note, looking at I've mentioned our partner around True Evolution, but looking at the supports, and thank you, Dr. Ford, for mentioning a data point around the Safe and Supportive Schools report card from the Equality California Institute. Looking at evolving from there, we've done a lot of things this year, but also that there is a board policy and that we can adopt around non-discrimination and harassment for non-binary, transgender, and gender non-conforming students. So a lot of work to be had in policies and systems. The next slide on professional learning is really calling out and continuing the training for management, certificated and classified staff. Of note is going to be our work around No Place for Hate and addressing the school climate and culture with the Martin Luther King High School cluster. And continuing with implicit bias and cultural proficiency training and making those connections around curriculum instruction for other clusters as well. If we move to the next slide on culture and climate, this was an area of growth and evolution for us and from our school sites. And I really want to acknowledge our parent leaders and our student leaders who absolutely called this out, as this is a huge need. So this is a component of our equity plan, not only to ensure that we have student voice in decisions that happen at school around inclusivity, but also making sure that students are supported and have outlets. For example, having multicultural classes and synergy events as some of the high schools and Martin Luther King High School has undertaken this year. And lastly, on the next slide around our plan, with community engagement, this year truly has highlighted not only the importance but necessary role of our families and community that play in equity for all of our kids. So which is why we added this piece. So highlighting and systematizing listening sessions, really leaning on and collaborating with our leaders and our partners to be able to address equity. And it's not just a district issue, it is a whole community and neighborhood and city issue. So the next slide really just highlights our next steps. A lot of work to be done. Moving forward, we do have a couple of meetings lined up virtually to continue the work, not only with our equity task force, in continuing the training around how to engage in listening circles in our own settings, but also with our community leaders so we can start off the new school year right on track, and really building out the resources internally. So before I you can click on the next slide. Before I open it up for questions, I did want to take this time because I just felt I did not have at any other time is just want to thank you for the opportunity to be able to lead this work alongside my colleagues, but also it's been your leadership and insight as a board and with Dr. Hansen to be able to put us in a great frame to be able to be leaders in the state around the work of equity. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lee, do you want to talk now?
Sure, yeah, sorry about that. I just wanted to thank Dr. Perez and the whole equity team for the work that they've been doing. It's hard to believe that it was back in 2017 that Dr. Hansen and the board charged our community with this work. And I know that we all want a quick answer and we want a quick remedy to some of the issues of inequity that are happening and racism that are happening in our community, like so many communities across this country. But I think I'm pretty happy with the progress that we're making. And I think that progress is in part because of the dedication of leaders like Dr. Perez. And I don't want to forget about Antonio Garcia, who's serving in another capacity now, but he was integral to getting this off the ground. And also the steering committee that's comprised of different staff members within our district. And then not least of all, of course, is the number of individuals that have stood with us since 2017 to put this work in motion and to provide a sounding board and some guidance on how we can go about accomplishing this seemingly impossible goal of equity. So I'm just so thankful for all the community members who have showed up at Sierra or any other site to help guide this work and get us to the point where we are now. And I can tell you, as someone who's been involved in these meetings over the course of the last few years, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the students who've been involved. I mean, I think sometimes, you're sitting in a room of people with advanced degrees, PhDs, and it's the high school students who maybe share the most profound thought for us to all ponder and move forward on. And I think that could be said for this meeting as well, in Freddie's opening comments in talking about the issue of racism that has shown its ugly head in some instances in our district, and how that's another virus that we're fighting. And I think the work that this group is doing is, while it's just the beginning, I think this is the antidote to that inequity and that racism, and that ultimately, the long game is that this is the vaccine for that work too. So I know we all want a quick answer, and when we see hate, we want to fight against it. But unfortunately, equity and issues of racism have been prevalent for as long as this country has been around, and long before that. So it's going to take a long time and this consistent effort to try to answer back at it. So I just want to make sure everybody who's been involved to know that we recognize your efforts and we're appreciative of them, and that we're going to continue to call on you, because although we've defined equity and we have a plan to make sure we have equity in our district, it's not a goal that's really ever attained. you can make progress to it and you can do a lot better, but every year is a new year and every year is a new battle. So I think the fact that we're putting these frameworks into place and that we're engaging the entire network of stakeholders, whether they're students or parents or teachers or administrators or nonprofit leaders or higher education, having everybody at the table and sharing their insight and sharing their willingness to help is evidence that we have what it takes to accomplish our goal of what equity means to us. And that we're just all going to have to, I mean, this is not an ad hoc committee, I think is my sense, that this is something that's going to have to be intertwined in our district for as long as we're around. So I'm just really proud of the work that's done. I know we got a lot more work to do, but I'm confident with the framework that we have in place. Whenever the time comes for those who are leading this work to move on to whatever they're going to do next, that they've created a system and a process for the work to carry on beyond any one of us. So I'm just excited that we've gotten as far as we have, and I just encourage that we can continue to continue this work and make more progress each and every time we meet, and each year we progress on this goal. So that's all. Just thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Well said. Mrs. Lock-Dawson.
Thank you, Mrs. Alavi. First, I do want to thank Dr. Perez and congratulate her on a lot of this work. It's a huge, gnarly, formless, nationwide issue. And I think you've done a really good job at trying to give us metrics and measurables and actionable items. And that's really fantastic. I really appreciate it. And I know you didn't work alone. I know you had members of the community, and I know you had lots of folks with you. So I really want to thank them as well. I also want to thank Brent Lee for, I think, having brought this to us many years ago. I think this was sort of something that he's never let up on. So thank you, Mr. Lee. I think you've really kept us focused on this. We can't ever lose sight of this. If we can't pretend like this stuff doesn't exist. So I think it's important that we behave as a model district and show that you can take this stuff on, you can have honest conversations, and you can make progress. And Riverside does this better than I know anybody else, because when I travel up and down the state, we really do work together very well with all our various institutions. We know how to do it. Dr. Perez, I did have a question for you though. I wanted you to address two things. Often, the first one, often the folks that we are most trying to impact are absent from conversations, right? We are often in positions of speaking to the choir. I remember going to the equity conference that the County of Riverside put on, and nobody who was there really needed to hear the message. They were already on the same page. So how do we get across to the folks that really need to be contacted? And secondly, could you speak a little bit about the equity walks and what those entail?
Sure. The first one, that's been a topic that we've been talking about in the last couple of equity task force. And even with that group, and I wanted to acknowledge that smaller group who is there and diligent, and that's where the arm around school culture and climate came to be. Because we have our equity warriors and the folks who are going to be at the forefront and are passionate and want this to happen, but it needs to get into students and staff so that we could build the capacity there. And so with a cluster approach of working through our neighborhoods with some common themes that we can grapple around and feed through the entire cluster is a strategy that we're going to work through this coming year to get this in the conversation and in the world for folks that aren't necessarily always the equity champions. So that's a strategy that we're going to be utilizing, as well as around policies. The more that we can, as a governing team and as a district, grapple with board policies that set the tone, that sets the tone across the entire organization. So those are two ways that we're going to be addressing on how we're getting more equity warriors, but also getting this work closer to students and to staff. The second part of your question is going to be very exciting. And so the reason I mentioned we want pilot schools and pilot departments, because we want folks who are willing and open to be really reflective around their work. So with one of our partners, with Epic Education, they have a slew of tools for us to do walkthroughs into just environments, walkthroughs as a team, so we can look at different things. We can look at an internal audit of policies by department. At schools, we can look at culture and climate and some indicators that would demonstrate our students feeling welcome. So there's a few tools that we're going to play around with about using at least this first year with some pilot schools that want to tackle that.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Do any other board members have any other comments at this time? All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Perez. That was enlightening.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And now we're going to move ahead to our meeting conclusion. Are there any agenda items for future meetings? All right, hearing none, I will now call the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.